Yes, that's right. Welcome to the Game Society Pimps podcast, special edition Han Solo. I'm Aaron.
I'm Emery. Solo.
Are we going? Or
Yeah, we sure are.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that?
I'm Adam.
Okay.
I don't know why
Solo.
we're doing this now.
And then
but
who's
sure.
on the? Because we're fucking crazy. We're rock and roll.
We're idiots.
Who's talking on the line?
Who, me?
We have another person in the room.
Yeah, on the line, in our ears.
On the
Oh,
line.
well, I figured you'd go through John and finish the room first and then introduce
See,
me.
I agree.
Wow, you
Yes.
spoiled the
Yes.
fucking
Oh,
surprise.
Oh,
Jesus.
come on.
And I feel like I'm the only one who can be solo since I am
We
solo.
had a whole elaborate gag plan, and it's ruined.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's...
Get your ass up to the mic. There you go.
All right.
All right, we have some professional podcasters in the room with us.
You would never know it based on everything you just heard.
Yeah, we're
but-
not one of them. And then Alden, he's a professional, Alden, and he's on the podcast. There's 5 of us. We're going to talk about Han Solo, a.k.a. Han Solo, depending on who you think pronounced it right. I think Lando or Londo.
Actually, it's just called Solo.
Yeah.
It's
Both
yeah.
versions are incorrect.
Yeah, everything you said was wrong.
I don't give a shit.
Plus, you wasted the joke that I was going to say, which is it Alden or Alden?
It's all
See?
That's good. That's the best joke.
So I've been pronouncing it all the wrong ways.
Yes.
You know what?
All right, well,
I
that's
have to
been
give
our
it to you.
podcast.
That's a new one. I
Thanks
haven't
for
heard that
joining
Do you know
us.
why they did
so-
that?
Dude, that's the first original Alden name joke that he's heard in, 20 years?
28 years, yeah.
That's 28, yeah.
Really? You just created an original Alden joke.
Yup.
Yeah, Alden, as you know, the 4 of us here all saw the movie together. And so we weren't able to talk about the movie, so we just have about 40 minutes of Alden jokes.
Yeah, it's been very hard to keep it all pent up, but we're ready
Wait.
Yeah.
to finally reveal our actual opinions. What Alden?
Oh, wait, I was waiting for Alden jokes or solo jokes. I wasn't sure what was coming after this.
We're going to go right into the Solo spoilers and jokes.
Okay.
That's right. So if you haven't seen the movie and you're going to see the movie, I would suggest tuning in after you see the movie. You don't have to. It's up to you. I mean, basically, movie trailers these days tell you the whole movie anyway, so who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So here we go.
Plus, if you've
Not
seen
just
any
solo
other
spoilers,
Star
but
Wars
general Star Wars spoilers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you've seen any other Star Wars movie, you kind of already know what must happen.
Yeah.
Oh, also, if you haven't for some reason seen The Last Jedi, we're probably going to spoil that too. And probably The Phantom Menace, we're going to spoil that too. So if you haven't seen that,
Force
show.
Awakens will also be spoiled. Don't forget. There's a big thing that
that
happened there.
too.
Rebels. Yep.
The Shining. Spoil that.
Blade
Ready
Runner.
Player One.
Both.
Ready Player.
Ready
yeah.
Player One.
Yep.
A lot of spoilers coming up. Die Hard, going to spoil that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
A lot of Die Hard talk.
They're remaking Die Hard in the new movie Skyscraper.
Don't forget Sixth Sense. We have to spoil that too.
For sure.
Yep.
Okay, so now you know what we're spoiling. Let's talk about the actual movie. Solo.
Where do we even begin?
I know exactly where to begin.
Okay.
When we left the movie theater, we refused to talk about it. All that happened the entire ride home was Emery sat in the car and went,
I have to admit I did the same thing, but I had no one else to talk to in the car, so it wasn't as annoying.
Yeah. That's not true. Emery was in the back seat, and occasionally he would go, "It's so hard."
It's true, he did do that.
and so I was like, did he really hate it? Is he just like he needs to talk about how much he hated it, and that's why he can't hold it in?
So
Actually, guys, what I was doing
Why
was
were you sighing?
I was practicing my porn lines. It's so hard, baby.
No, this is more of a like, I'm disappointed with
it
your
was subtle.
performance in the sack sort of sigh.
So let's put down some organization here because we're kind of
boy,
we're
nice.
all over the
You can
damn
try.
place.
You can try.
I am trying.
Yeah.
So what I think we should do, and the tradition we've always done, was by the way, congratulations, you're both back for Star Wars podcast because
Yeah.
every Star Wars podcast
Yeah.
we've done, these
Yeah.
two have always been on it. So I want to thank them for that. By the way, Very
Alden
nice
and
of
I
them
need
do
to
that.
figure out how we got ourselves in this financial situation.
I know you guys really put yourself in a hole.
New
We
Star Wars
appreciate
movie.
it.
Let's pay to talk about
Yeah!
it.
Yeah, appreciate you doing that.
Wait.
Okay, so what we usually do is that we basically all decide, let's just go with first thoughts of every single person, just go around the room and stop interrupting each other. So who would like to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I came into this movie with exceedingly low expectations. I thought it was probably going to be okay, but I wasn't buying. What's the actor's name?
It's Alden and Heinrich.
Alden Heinrich. All right, Alden Heinrich Duran. I did not buy him as Solo at all in the trailers. So I was kind of expecting an okay movie surrounding a black hole of a performance. That's not what I got. I got a movie that was okay. I generally, it was enjoyable. It's sort of comfort food for the old people who want nostalgia trips. I'm not necessarily that person, so about twice a scene, I just went, as they were that's something that happens in the OT. But generally, I liked it, and there were some parts that I liked a lot, which we'll get into later.
Can I just talk about the one point you just made a little tiny bit?
Yes.
The nostalgia thing, I was not feeling it at all.
Nostalgia, every time a movie goes, you know about that thing, they lose me for 10 seconds. And
but
there
like,
were times I was literally waving my hands in the air. It's
you could say this movie has the most to do with Star Wars and Star Wars lore of than any of the more recent movies, but I felt nothing. I felt no attachment to the previous Star Wars movies, even though it's extremely attached to all the previous Star Wars movies.
I did feel sense of nostalgia, but only in shots that weren't meant to provide that to me. So like shots with the Millennium Falcon kind of flying around, just like going to land or whatever. Like some of those shots, my mind went back to the first time I saw Millennium Falcon, or second or third time or something like that. But those were not parts where they were intending for me to feel that way. But then every time they tried to make me feel that way, like you guys, I just got a little upset.
I'm inclined to agree completely.
Yeah.
So,
Alden, do you have a response to the nostalgia thing?
So, as you guys know, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I used to follow all the back lore and everything. And so I already have a Han Solo story in my head going into this movie. And while I feel like it hit most of the points from the old lore and kind of took bits from it, there was a lot of stuff like I didn't really need to know. I mean, Han Solo, this is Han Solo going, hey, I'm an idealistic, turning into the arrogant jackass we see in New Hope. Like, this is just going to be a downward decline. Like, there's no real happy ending at the end of this. So the point of just nostalgia about things that, all right, cool. Like, it's a movie I didn't really want, but I guess I'm okay with it existing. Like, I don't feel worse now that it's out there.
It's not my least favorite Star Wars movie. It's something I don't think I'm going to necessarily come back to often, but I'm never going to go, Solo, and toss it across the room.
I do have to say, I feel like they should have remade this movie and called it Solo, the Lando Calrissian story, because Donald Glover was fucking amazing, and if we can have more of that,
he was one of the best things in this movie. I thought he was doing as well as Lando Calrissian. I
felt like that was a young Billy D. Williams right there.
He was nailing it in the same way that young Obi-Wan in the prequel,
but without being disrespectful or anything like that.
He was doing an impersonation, and it was great.
Let's try to get back to some structure.
All right, so who's next?
No. What I want to say here is I've got an idea. We each just go around as we did, and you're allowed. The group can respond to one aspect.
Brilliant.
Something
like we just did.
Yes,
Great.
But don't then start going into other shit.
No more additional tangents.
No additional tangents.
It's hard not to because we're very excited.
I know, and that's fine. But let's try to.
Okay, we'll come back to Lando and the big.
Have you done your first impressions yet, Adam?
No, I will. I'm not volunteering yet. Alden was already on a roll. Let him go.
Okay, Alden, go.
Oh no, I'm was good. Just submitting the Lando Calrissian thing. We can move on.
No. You are we're moving on to you. What was your take of this film in a
Beyond Lando?
Yeah.
Oh, I said I wasn't expecting anything from this movie, and I'm not really disappointed that it exists. I enjoyed it, but didn't really need it. It's my opinion.
Okay, so we will take away from that the response is Lando. Everybody go ahead and talk about their response to Lando. You kind of already did. All right, so I agree completely. When I saw him in the role, he not only looked like it, he was really good at the voice.
Yeah.
He had that down. He really embodied that
voice,
character.
Mannerisms.
Yeah, he really was
Capes.
Lando. As best one could possibly be. And he is probably elevated by the fact that the guy who actually plays Solo is so bad at that role. In my opinion, was
There's times
really
you can
bad
see
at
him
it.
doing Harrison Ford ticks. I'm pointing at the
There's a
mic right
couple
now,
of
jutting
moments,
my
but
finger.
to be honest, I'm like you. I never bought him as that, and he had the unfortunate task.
Oh,
of having-
I never bought him as.
Okay.
But it's like,
Okay, so
I
are
can
you talking
see.
about your take on it
What-
now?
what I'm
'Cause we're
basically-
talking about Solo,
Yes.
right? But we were talking about Lando.
I know, and I'm making the point that you have to like
Solo?
Breaking
not be
your
a
own
dick.
rules.
You have to.
I
The
can't feel
point
like
I'm
you
trying
can't
to
talk
make
about
here.
Star Wars without
Yeah.
tangenting. It's just
The
not
point
possible.
I'm trying to make here is he was not only good at it, he looked even better by virtue of the fact that he was basically constantly connected to another guy trying to do an impression who couldn't do it as well.
Yeah.
That's my
looking
response
at
to
the
that.
guy who played Solo, I could see Solo. He had the tics, he had the mannerisms. It was his voice. He sounds nothing like Harrison Ford at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I thought there were times that he sounded like him, but just not enough.
I agree.
He also just didn't have the charisma, you know? He had a big, goofy smile, but he just didn't make you fucking love him like Harrison Ford.
I didn't really understand why that smile was always on his face.
Yeah. That
Kinda
smile
bugged
got
me.
annoying at
There
a certain
is,
point.
there is a reason, but we should go back to that later. Sorry
You brought up another
I
goddamn
was trying to
tangent.
make a point. I was just trying to make a point about Lando,
Which
and you totally went the wrong way with it. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, who's next?
All
Who
right.
won?
Emery, go for it.
Okay, first impression of the movie. I guess I would have to say I kind of agree with the general consensus, which is that I didn't have high expectations for it. Came away with being like, it was all right. I think that it is worse than Rogue One by far. I think that it is probably worse, actually, than The Last Jedi. Because at least The Last Jedi, there are some reasons for me to want to watch it again. So yeah, I guess maybe I would say that I'm not a big fan of this movie now that I think about it some more. Like, it was okay in the moment, but like, I feel like it would have been way better if it had just not had anything to do with Star Wars and they had just tried to create a fucking sci-fi awesome heist movie with fucking hyperspace and laser blasters and bad guys and shit. Like, that would have been cool.
Fast and Furious in space.
Yeah, Fast and Furious in space. Yeah. That's my first impression.
Does anyone want to respond to anything Emery said?
This does feel like an aggressively unnecessary movie. More unnecessary than any of the other prequels. Rogue One is still one of my favorite Star Wars movies, actually.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hit the lows that the prequels and I thought the new trilogies have been hitting. It doesn't hit the highs either of those. It's middle of the road, right down the lane. Yeah.
I just want to say, when you said aggressively unnecessary, the first thing that came to my mind was every boner that I ever got in school.
This is like the one you got in the car when you said it's so hard.
Yeah.
It was aggressively unnecessary. That's what he meant to say.
Can we talk about certain moments in the movie where like
No.
that?
No,
like,
stick to the structure.
Stick to
No,
the
we're done. We're done.
structure.
Thanks for the. Thanks everybody. That was the
that's it,
podcast.
everybody.
That's the
See you later.
podcast.
Now, Adam has to give his first
See
impressions,
Deadpool.
and then we can move on.
No, Aaron hasn't done
Yeah.
this.
Right?
No, you go ahead.
I will.
You go
if you
ahead.
want. All right. So this, when we saw it tonight, was actually the second time I've seen it, which was not intentional, but it was an interesting perspective because the first time I saw it, I kind of came away with the exact same things where I was just like, this didn't need to exist. And I had multiple issues, especially when I thought about, I know way too much about the production of this film, and long story short, it was a disaster to the point where they reshot 95% of the film. There's entire actors that are no longer in it. They replaced the directors, a whole bunch of stuff.
They said it in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
when
that
they-
too. It didn't. It wasn't. It was simply a story that never needed to be told, and that was really hard to ignore. Knowing that, and just you could predict what that movie was going to be. I always said it's going to be A New Hope quotes lived out. And that,
Until the third act, I always felt like I knew what the next thing to happen was going to be, and I was right. It's one of those movies.
There was only one legit surprise to me in that whole film, which I'm sure we all will talk about soon.
Well, are
because we
going-
kind of
There's some
accidentally
legit
talked about it.
surprises, and then that's just like that's a little off the wall because
Yeah,
we'll get to
yeah.
it.
We'll get
We'll
to
get
it.
to that later, and I want to talk about him for some other reasons too.
Yeah. But anyway, so having seen it a second time, it was a little interesting to watch because there's certain like for example, when the guy, what's his name with the Infinity Stone, Vision,
Paul
the
Bettany.
actor who plays Vision,
Paul Bettany, yeah.
Paul Bettany,
he
yeah.
makes references to his boss, and having watched the second time, I was like, I know what he's talking about now. But the first time I didn't. So there's just little things. But coming away with it, I just realized like, yeah, this movie really didn't need to exist, and the guy who played Solo really, when you know the production of why he's in that movie, man, was that a mistake. So ultimately, I'm with you on this middle road movie. It didn't really harm anything, but at the same time, it gave me so many groaners. I'm like, did we just have to hear him do that? And did we have to hear him say that? And like, it just felt like they had a bunch of beats that they had to hit.
There are things that Han says in the original trilogy about, let the Wookiee win and all that. It's like, they went down the list. It's like, we
Yeah.
have to show each and everything here.
Exactly. It's like, and then they did it with like almost like military efficiency. It was just like,
Yeah.
yep. Then he meets Chewie. Then he does
That
this.
was-
Then he does this. Then he does this. Was there any aspect of that movie other than that one scene that wasn't like really obvious that it was gonna go that way?
I mean, to be fair, considering this is a prequel with a character who's already established, like,
Yes.
there's not really any point where you're going to be on the edge of your seat, like, oh, are they going to make
That-
it through this? Like,
Yeah.
That Eldon
we
is
know.
precisely my point.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to exist for that reason. And as you were saying, everyone has this. You, Eldon, I'm pointing at you as if you can see me. What you were saying about everyone has this backstory of Solo in their mind. You don't really need to see it play out. Mm-hmm. That said, not the worst thing I've seen, and not actually the worst Star Wars film, but probably the worst Disney one in my opinion.
if there hadn't already been all this back lore and a story created for Solo existing right now, it would have been fine. Or if this was the first time we're seeing Solo, or maybe it would have been different. But we already know his whole arc. We know how it ends. Does it really matter how it began? Like, no.
Right.
I agree.
And like the prequels, obviously not flawless films, and I think I'm still the defender on the panel. But with the new crop of Disney movies, it's easier, I think, to explain what I appreciate about the prequels, and that Lucas used the prequels, and they're guilty of moments where where this has to end up, but to tell a completely different story about how a democracy ends.
Yeah.
And he's using Star Wars to tell that whole side thing that you barely even factors into the
That is the best thing about the prequels, is that from day one, it sets you on a path where you can clearly see the end goal, and you're really interested in how that happens. And so there is a reason for every one of those movies to exist. They do a really terrible job of navigating to that point, but at least they serve a purpose that and you feel like that purpose, like you're along with it. You're like, I agree with you, George Lucas. It would be cool to see how the Empire is created and how the Republic falls. I agree, George. That's a good reason to make a movie. You can't say that about this.
Yeah, you can't say I ever really wanted to see what Solo was doing like a week before A New Hope.
Dude, that's what's
Well,
so
here's the
upsetting
thing.
to me is that
it's 10
it's
years. This
But
is 10
10
years
years,
before
but
New
that's-
Hope.
supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly, yeah, but that doesn't. It really doesn't work. When you get to the end, when he's just like, "Let's go to Tatooine and like hang out and do this one
Well,
job." You're
why
like,
the fuck would they put that
I'll
there?
briefly summarize the original story of Han Solo. He started out on Corellia. He did some smuggling, got involved with the Hutts. Then he went to the academy, became an officer, got kicked out because he rescued Chewie, got back into smuggling, got in trouble, joined the rebellion. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
And even then, you don't need to know it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then think about this. Would this movie be better if you'd never seen Star Wars before and you just started very early in the beginning and you saw this movie before you saw any of the other stuff?
I think
Any of the
my
other movies with Han Solo in them?
Well, that brings up a point where I realize with these new Star Wars movies, I have to sit there and judge it as myself and as 6-year-old me who saw Star Wars for the first time. Because that's because 6-year-old me is the actual audience for this movie.
Yeah.
We old Gen X's are destroying it with our corruption. But that, it's meant
Whoa! Don't throw me into Gen X, all right?
You'll
I'm
be
not there
old
yet.
someday, Alden.
I'm a goddamn millennial, all right?
too.
I'm a proud millennial.
I'm a millennial.
Yeah, 3/5 of this podcast is millennials.
So do you think that like you're saying that kids would like it?
I think my nephew would like it. My nephew, by the way, who has no idea that Tarkin in Rogue One is CGI.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's turned 9 he's 9. He'll be turning
fooled
10
him, huh?
soon, so-
Here's
Did Leia fool him?
Nope, he had no idea. But
Wow.
he's not seen a whole lot of movies. He doesn't know anything
Yeah.
about CGI.
But here's the thing
Tarkin
with
and Leia.
the Solo. The Solo at the end of this movie and the Solo we see at the beginning of New Hope are completely different people. Like,
Yeah.
This guy still has, hope or something.
Well,
You know.
the point in this movie where I stopped being able to predict exactly what's going to happen was third act, and it was not the cameo that was the wild
We'll
revelation. I
talk
can't
about that
believe they're
later.
going
That's
there.
gonna be
Yeah.
its own thing.
The thing that I couldn't believe they're going there is, oh my god, this is all building up to a sequel.
That's how it felt.
Yes.
Solo
You're right.
It's-
It really felt that way.
Yeah.
It is.
It's way too open-ended, and it's funny because I was reading while I had to wait for you guys to watch the movie. I was reading some stuff about how the sequels depends on how the audience responds to it, but I was like, the way you ended it, you have to tell a sequel. Why is
Yeah.
Solo the way he is at A New Hope, and not this happy-go-lucky guy who sees the whole galaxy through rose-colored glasses?
Yeah, following the proud tradition of Alien Prometheus, of unnecessary prequels that don't lead into the movies that they precede.
We got way derailed here, and I'm sorry, Aaron. It's completely your turn to talk about general reactions.
General Reactions was my favorite character.
Yeah, he was good.
He was, but we knew he was going to die.
What did you think of Captain Cape Date? Because I was looking at
Okay.
you when they were going through his closet.
I'm just going to point out, they weren't just going through his closet. They had the most passionate, sexy scene in the closet
In
with
the
the
capes.
capes. Coincidence? I don't think so.
But they were eventually used as cleaning materials to put out fire. So, just saying.
Well,
It's a
valuable in
tragedy.
other
It's a
ways
tragedy.
as
Just saying,
well.
Yeah.
Just saying, that was their way of saying, get rid of these things. Burn them.
But nonetheless, most passionate moment always involves capes. Trust me. I know this from personal experience. I thought the movie had some moments. I felt like probably Ron Howard was just like, went into work and was just like, okay, we'll do this. And he was just like doing his job. He did a good job. He didn't make a movie that took any risks. He didn't make a movie that I'm passionate about or give a fuck about. But he made a Star Wars movie, I guess.
He's a reliable
I
workman
feel-
director, and considering what he walked into, I mean, you have to give
He
him
salvaged
credit.
it. He actually salvaged. I
Yeah.
give him props.
I feel like
Yeah.
Ron Howard walked into this and went, "Oh shit, what am I going to do with this?"
In a bit, we should give some of the highlights of the production disaster, but go on.
Yeah.
So, and like I commend him for doing that. It's just that I couldn't really get attached to the film. I didn't feel like it had that much of a soul. It just seemed like they tried to insert
It
soul.
didn't have that much of a soul. Oh.
Yeah,
Soul
they should have called
Zero.
it soulless.
Yeah.
So-
Couldn't we have just let that one go, everybody?
No.
Couldn't we have just-
They all had to do it.
I
But,
knew we were on a bad track when the movie begins with Han Solo getting his last name.
Oh,
because
my-
that's so significant.
when I first saw that, I was like, "Oh my god, you really
No,
did
I
that!"
was like,
Yeah.
that's
And
how
then-
they came up with his name. Like, give me something more than that. Like,
Then
come on.
that's the least creative way
Yeah.
to
They
give
just,
him
like-
that name.
They're like, oh, by the way, his last name is Solo. That's it now. Bye.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but if it had been more dramatic, wouldn't it have been just as stupid? Basically,
Did we need a scene where he figured out what his name was? Like,
No.
could we just been like, "Yeah, that's my name."
No.
Like, I was born and I got a name.
Well, to be fair, the prequels exist so we can know why Luke Skywalker is named Skywalker.
Yeah, but we don't have a whole story
it's
about
because
why
it-
he's
it's
got
because his
Luke,
dad's
other than like she gave birth. She was Luke Leia.
Yeah, and you know what?
Like,
His
you know-
dad's name was Skywalker. His grandmother's name was Skywalker.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to be Skywalker.
If this was the prequels, there would have been some scene where Anakin, walks across some invisible bridge and like, oh, he is the Skywalker, and it's like, oh.
Well, there's another scene where Han says he knew who his dad was. So how the hell did he not know his own last name?
That's true. Yeah, that too. He did talk about his dad
true.
with Lando.
There's a
briefly.
lot of holes like that. Yeah.
unless his dad only had one name.
Han
maybe-
Senior.
Oh my god.
Well, no, all right, let's put it that way. All right, let's assume for a second you're right. His dad had one name.
Yeah.
And in his culture, that's normal.
Yeah,
Then he goes
exactly.
to the Empire, which is on the same fucking planet. He just walked into another room. And the guy's like, what's your last name? He didn't go, what the fuck are you talking about? He was like, I don't know, I don't have one.
Well, let's get into the themes of imperialism here.
Well, okay, well maybe in the Star Wars universe, this has never been established. Maybe last names are actually a way of differentiating the different types of human beings that there
Possibly.
are. You know, maybe the Skywalker, because he asked, "Who are your people?" You know, so maybe
I'm gonna go on an extended lore rant. The Solos are actually really big in the universe. There's like a whole royalty thing that used to run Corellia, and that's where his name actually comes from.
Are you serious?
EU is
Yes.
dead, Alden.
Yeah, you
have to let it go, son.
Yeah.
I can't.
Whoops.
I've spent
wait.
too much
Are you-
time.
In
reading
the
it.
old lore, he's a fucking like forgotten lost prince, like fucking Aragorn or something.
It's EU. Everyone is a forgotten lost prince in the EU.
Okay, both backstories are stupid. He shouldn't ever have had a backstory.
That's the lesson we've learned.
So
That's
to
true.
sum up,
Layer and finish.
what I
everything.
was saying is that I felt like the movie didn't take any chances. There could have been ways they could have surprised us. They could have come up with creative surprises in how things happen, and they just really didn't do that. They just kept it straightforward and just plowed ahead. There was, I mean, I guess you could say that Darth Maul is a surprise, but really, does it fucking matter? It matters to the people like Alden who have read every single Star Wars book in the history of humanity, probably, right? But
Most of them.
yeah,
Dude,
So, but like
Do we
you
wanna
as a
talk
hard,
about Maul now?
Not yet.
you as a hardcore Star Wars fan, Alden, were you pleased with how they treated your source material?
You can tell there was a lot of influence they took from it. There was a lot of points. But then in general, I mean, they pretty much torn it up and spit all over it anyway. So, is my final opinion.
Yeah, so it didn't really make super hardcore Star Wars fans that happy, but it probably will make the new audience of Star Wars fans happy. And as for me, it felt like another slide away from Star Wars for me as to like not caring. It started with Force Awakens and then gradually built up to The Last Jedi, where I really just felt like, okay, I think I'm just getting done with Star Wars. I think it is for the other generations now, and I just need to relax my hold and my grip.
It's
on
okay. It's okay
Star
to be
Wars.
done with Star Wars. It's okay to move past it.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, like, Rogue One came out, and Rogue One pulled me back in. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is good. This is a
Yeah.
backstory
Rogue One
like I
was
didn't
good.
know I wanted.
I agree.
I will
Yeah.
objectively say Rogue One, probably the best one Disney made. Like, of
Yeah.
the four.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Does the entire panel agree on that?
It's
Yeah.
the only
Oh,
one
yeah.
I 100%. Well,
Yeah.
except for one tiny scene.
There
that I
are
talked
parts
about
of it that
a long
aren't
time
great.
ago.
I think we all
no,
agree with that.
no,
but,
but
It's not
you know
a
what?
perfect film.
but it's
but-
the best one that Disney did. It's the one that actually feels like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yet I know a lot of people dispute that, but
And there's a tragedy to it that's kind of
Yeah.
like affecting at the end, and I was like, that's kind of cool, you know. It was
And it also, like Lucas's prequels, it's telling a story where we know exactly how it ends to the moment, basically. And instead of going moments, it gives you these other characters and gives each of them a complete arc and is telling their complete story in this one
and
little
you're
thing.
you're surprised.
Yeah.
You're somewhat surprised at the end.
Yeah.
That they actually do that.
okay.
I-
Go ahead, Alden.
I was going to say, I feel like right now, they're focusing too much on, oh, great, we killed off Han Solo, but here, we're going to give you more Solo, because I know you guys are upset about that. Like, what are we going to get next? Are we going to have to get a Leia movie and hear her backstory
They
growing
just
up on
announced
Alderaan?
they announced the Boba Fett movie. That's been greenlit. I don't know if
And Obi-Wan's all but official.
Oh, okay.
Obi-Wan, well, with the way, yeah. But then
Obi-Wan's the one that
Obi-Wan.
makes sense, though.
And to be honest, I'm.
But
Yeah.
even then, Obi-Wan spent 18 years sitting in a desert. Like,
Yeah.
what are we
Or
gonna watch?
did he? Or did he?
We talked about Obi-Wan
Yeah.
last time. It's just I'm still hoping for a western where I would like a Star Wars movie that never leaves Tatooine, where he
Yeah.
gets involved with someone. He's the old samurai who has to come out of the desert and help
Yeah.
a small scale Star Wars movie.
That would be
Can we
awesome.
also
I can
not
live
have
with that.
every one of these like spin-off movies end where A New Hope starts?
That's
Seriously, like,
yeah, wait. Oh, yeah. So Han
like,
Solo
so
now becomes
literally
the
those
guy
two.
who funded the rebellion, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Oh
the
my
two
God.
that exist, assuming we never get a Solo sequel proper, which I don't want, debatably it ended with him being like, let's go to Tatooine because there's a job. And then where do you see him next?
Fucking Tatooine.
After he just did that job.
yeah.
But then same with Rogue One, and in my mind, I'm afraid that Boba Fett ends with him being like, we got to go find the Millennium Falcon, because you see him in A New Hope at the Millennium Falcon for the first time.
Right.
And then Obi-Wan, he's like, well, I better get going. And that kid, I feel him. He needs me. Like, I don't want every movie to end with, like, how do these characters merge at A New
I
Hope?
think
I don't
they
need
do
that shit.
because there was actually like a rivalry between Han and Boba Fett for the longest time. So if they could focus on that and build on that, like maybe they worked a job together and it went south, and that's why, you know. But
It suddenly occurs to me that the Boba Fett movie could be, in a sense, a
Han Solo
secret
sequel.
Han Solo.
It could be, because they'll probably cast him again.
Yeah, of course, wouldn't you? Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
That pisses me off. now
That Boba
now I'm
Fett has
thinking
been
about
cast
like
3
the
times now.
behind the scenes stuff. Let's go into that in a minute. First, let's take care of a little business.
I wanted to say one
Go
thing.
ahead.
Okay.
The thing that I want to not see anymore in any Star Wars movies, or at least make one that there's not this, is no fucking mention of the rebellion. Why is the rebellion literally behind everything? Like, why did those pirates have to be fucking rebellion?
Whoa! They're not the Rebel Alliance. They're just the base concepts of rebelling against the system.
They're creating the rebellion.
No,
They're
no, no,
about
no,
to
no,
fund
no,
it.
no, no,
That's
I
what
think
they.
I think he's right. I
No,
think
he's
they're
not.
No, I-
How am I not right
That
about
they're
that?
not the same entity. They're just different groups that fucking
For
hate
Star Wars, the
those-
next Star Wars movie I want it to do nothing to do
Okay.
with what's going on in the past, whatever, how many
Yeah.
years it is in this
But
Star Wars universe.
Wait, we're all shoving hands in each other's
Yeah, we
faces
are.
here. But there's one thing I want to say,
Yeah.
like, to counter. One of who was the name of the more terroristic rebellion leader in Rogue One?
Saw Gerrera.
Saw
Saw Gerrera.
He was
One
actually
of his
part-
henchman is with the bandits. At the
Yeah,
end of this
I don't
movie.
deny that there's probably
Or at least the
crossover
same
there.
species.
They're
But the guys in this movie were not rebelling against the Empire. They're rebelling against other criminal syndicates. That's what they're against.
Yeah, but they said there is a rebellion
Yeah.
brewing.
Yes.
Blah blah blah.
Obviously, that's to cater to the terminology the audience already knows, but that's not the Rebel Alliance.
Holy
Well, that's
shit!
right,
You're
that's
being
right.
very political.
Oh, he's right. He's,
Yeah, because they're not in alliance yet.
the guys they were fighting are with the Empire.
It says that.
They say she said
You're
that.
right. There's a tangential
There's
connection.
seeds of rebellion,
seeds,
obviously.
yeah.
They may not be the rebellion,
Yeah.
but there's
It's the
seeds of
proto-rebellion.
rebellion. And of course there
Okay.
were seeds of rebellion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously it has to start somewhere. And this is probably just one of the many places.
Though, to be fair, it's just as absurd as, like, when you watch the prequels or any of that stuff. I mean, the Emperor's just behind everything that's happening in the galaxy all the time.
Oh yeah, I know.
Star Wars has that problem.
I'm just saying, I would love it if there was some real stories about real people with real problems that didn't always boil down to, oh, there's the bad guys and the good guys.
Yeah.
And they're always, you have to pick one side or the other. It's stupid.
That's fair. That is
I'd
fair.
like,
actually-
it'd be nice if it sits more in the morally gray area. So, you can't just pick a side. You have to sit
that's-
there and go,
that-
who's the
that's
good
actually-
guy in this?
This one seemed like it was basically going to be that.
That's what
you
it was.
know?
And even now, having seen this, I'm still I'm okay with a Boba Fett movie coming along because I would like to finally get the pure scum and villainy movie, all the bounty hunter criminals.
Where
Yeah.
Boba
Yeah,
Fett's
an anti-hero,
the
yeah.
protagonist, but we all know he's not
Yeah.
a good guy.
But I swear to God, that movie is going to be full of people going, "Don't fall in that hole, Boba." And it's like, "Oh, I almost fell in that hole."
I'm going to make one point. I agree with you. But there's one point I want to make in regards to that. They're trying to, at least at the time we record this, to get the guy who directed Logan to do that.
and that actually is what most interests me.
I think that's
in
the
this
whole
right
point.
Now. Yeah.
Hey, Bubba, we need you for this job. I'd rather be slowly digested over 1,000 years than do this job.
I'm really hoping though that it doesn't start with him like crawling out of the Sarlacc pit and then flashbacking. Like, how did I get into this mess?
Bubba, wait, cool your heels, man. I haven't checked your backpack yet. No, I don't need my rocket pack. Let's just go get this done.
All right, we got to take care of a little business. So obviously, both Alden and John are here, but there are other people that who support us on Patreon and that are at appropriate levels to get shout-outs and choose subjects. Now, obviously, we've all decided we're just doing Solo as our subject here. But we want to thank, of course, Melanie, CCR Star Panda, and Abed, who would normally be able to pick subjects. Hopefully you guys saw the movie and you're getting some enjoyment out of this.
I have a Han Solo related subject.
Okay.
Favorite moments from the movie.
Well, we'll get around to stuff like that.
No, this is the subject I'm picking on their behalf. Favorite moments from the movie. Go.
I do like that it threw in the occasional references to characters to show their fate. Like they got rid of, they mentioned Bosk randomly as a possible like bounty hunter. I really like that Aura Singh. They say specifically, "Here's how she died." I liked those moments. Those did not make me groan. Things that made me groan. Well, we already talked about that, but those are positives.
Positives, John.
Moments. Well, I can tell you the new character that I liked a lot was, if you want to go by what's said on screen, L3, or her full name if you're into the action figure packaging, Leet, L337. I thought she was a lot of fun. Some people pointed out some weird things about how they handled her as a character. Like the only female droid in the universe is also the only one who has had sex. So, but just in terms of performance and all that, I thought she was fun. Her fate is, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, because it's not like the Millennium Falcon is a character. It's not the TARDIS. It doesn't have a mind.
I want to respond to that. Really
Okay.
quick. First time I saw that, when they straight up mentioned, oh, she has all these things, like she has like all the navigational system. I'm like, she's gonna get integrated into the ship. I called it in my head immediately, because that is, and I'm sure Alden can back me up on this, that's the reason the Millennium Falcon is the fastest ship. It's not actually faster than anybody, because you can't be. It's light speed. What it's capable of doing is calculating a trajectory faster than anyone else. And so like she does that. And I'm like, and then you watch Empire, there's a line that C-3PO has when he's trying to talk to the ship. He's like, your ship's insane. And he just says something like, I don't know where your ship learned to communicate, but it has the strangest dialect. It's her persona.
That's
When I saw it, I was like, done. That's her.
Okay.
And it likes to fuck.
Yeah, that part, C-3PO didn't mention that, but, I mean, who was hooking up with it all the time? R2.
And the Millennium Falcon is totally a social justice warrior. And has been for the entirety of Star Wars.
Canon. That is canon.
That is canon now.
Yes.
That is canon.
So there's no way the ship would have
It is
let
canon,
Han
and it has
not blow
always
up
been
the Death
true your
Star.
whole life, Star Wars nerds.
It was,
That is a great way of sticking it to those people.
it loved saving droids like C-3PO and R2-D2.
Anyway, sorry. Eldon, what about you? Favorite moment?
Come back to me.
Okay, Emery?
Easily my favorite moment was seeing Darth Maul. Easily my favorite moment. It's one of the only moments that I was like, I might actually like this movie if I get to see Darth Maul do something cool.
I do want to respond to that.
Okay.
We all want to talk about Darth Maul. That's going to be a
Well,
separate
I just want to
conversation.
make a brief, like, if Han Solo has run into Darth Maul, how the fuck does he not believe in the Force? Like,
But so far, he hasn't.
We'll save that
Yeah,
discussion for
we have
Darth
a whole
Maul.
discussion about him.
Favorite moment was when Woody Harrelson was telling Solo, I've got one final lesson for you. I've got one final thing that you've got to learn. And then he fucking shoots him. And I'm like, okay, so the final thing that Han Solo needs to learn is always shoot first.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's kept that to this, he kept that when he went to Tatooine and shot first.
K.
Got that, George?
K will know what I mean.
Can't fucking change it now. It's forever.
That would have to be my second favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
That was good. That was really good. That was a surprise. I like it when there's a surprise in a movie during a scene where you're just like, oh, it's going to be this, but then it's not.
But at the same time, did any of us think Woody Harrelson was going to live through that movie?
No.
Exactly. So it was.
And I was annoyed.
The only time I thought he might live is when I realized that they were setting up a sequel so heavily. It's like, oh, how much of this are they even going to wrap up?
Yeah.
Which was little.
It was also annoying that Leet sort of died similarly to a robot in Rogue One. I was just like,
Yes.
kind of.
What is with the spin-off movies and just killing the
Yeah.
robot
like,
that everyone
okay,
likes?
you always got to kill the robot? That's really dumb.
I have a theory about the robots, really quick.
Please proceed.
All right.
uh-oh.
Okay. So think about this. It's going to be a little offensive, possibly, maybe. I don't know.
Yep, I saw this coming. Go ahead.
If
did?
Emery thinks this might be offensive, this is going to be good.
This might be a little
Go on.
offensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is great.
So clearly we haven't created AI yet, but in the future we might, right? And so these AI that we create in the future, what are they going to think when they watch are old movies that feature AI, especially the fucking Star Wars one. Like, they're just like fucking comic relief who get killed right away. It reminds me so much of watching old depictions of black people in movies.
Yep, exactly.
These fucking robots are the black people of the movies now. And they're going to look back and they're going to be like, dude, that was so fucked up how they fucking only use us for fucking comic relief.
That's right.
And they were dead immediately.
Terminator franchise.
That's right. That's why we had to put you in the camps, John Connor.
But Alden, you felt the same way?
No, I just knew exactly where you were going with this as soon as you said it. I was like, I know where he's going.
In the Terminator camps, they make the humans watch heartbeats 5 times a day. I'm the only person in the room who knows what that movie is.
So, Alden, favorite moment?
I didn't really have a favorite movie.
All right.
This whole
Did you
movie
like
kinda just
anything?
I was kind of just the whole movie. Like, I don't hate this, but I don't really love it.
It's a very even keel.
Yeah, it's not. There's no real moments where it's like, wow, this was amazing. I'm really glad I saw this. Like everything, all the important things kind of seemed like, oh, hey, here's his blaster. Oh, hey, here's the Falcon. Oh,
You know
hey, he
the-
found Chewie in the cave. Cool.
The one thing I would say though, just advice to future Star Wars movies: you don't need to, even if it's a prequel or whatever, you don't need to do all the references to other stuff from the movies. You don't need to do like the Millennium Falcon
hang on.
fits through the fucking thing anymore. You don't need to do that.
Hang on. You had a brilliant idea with all of that for an Abbott subject. Let's move on to another subject.
Yes,
there was
please.
No, just please.
Okay.
And the next subject would be for Melanie Brookbank, and the subject would be, what would you improve?
Thank you.
Go, asshole.
Thank you.
Go.
Hey, I just naturally segued into it, and Adam fucking wrecked all of it. So I'll just butt out right now, and somebody else. Can
No. You had it. Go.
No, I'm good. Why organically go into a topic when you can stop and be a cunt?
Because we have to. It's part of the
You
job.
could've, to be fair, Adam, you could have waited until he was finished and then said, and that subject was brought to us.
No,
by
that's
Melanie
not how
Brookbank.
Adam rolls.
It's gotta have a structure.
Okay, advice to Star Wars movies. You don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to bring back stuff. You don't have to. They sort of tried to make it, and it was like, I've got a good feeling about it. You don't have to. You just don't need to do that. We're tired of it. The new people don't give a shit. It doesn't need to be carried on. I will say that, you can forge forward with new ideas. You don't have to just keep hearkening back. The style of the movie was fine. I'm glad that they sort of hearkened back in the style of the movie. That was fine, but you don't need to do it in other ways. The Millennium Falcon and ships fitting through small shit, that's just stupid. I wish they wouldn't have done that. It was mundane and not of interest.
I completely agree with you,
Yeah.
but I'm going to defend them on one point. At no point in this did we ever see a pointless C-3PO R2-D2 cameo.
This is now the
That's
first
true.
Star Wars
This
movie
becomes the
with no
first Star Wars
R2-D2
movie that they're not in, unless they're like super hidden somewhere.
I was looking, I didn't.
This is the second time I saw it, and I didn't notice it.
They might have tried, but realized that there's no fucking
logical
way.
way, yeah.
Like, even a little baby would have, like, spoken its first words and been like, that's fucking stupid!
I wonder
Can
if
we
in the
also
Miller
stop
and
with
Lord,
the desert planets? Why is there a desert planet in every movie? Why?
Good question.
because they
Like,
exist and we
we're
can
not
film in them.
we're not going to fix all those. I'm just giving them credit for doing that one part right.
Okay, my advice to new Star Wars movies, don't make gigantic moon-sized eldritch tentacle monsters in space and then kill them off in the next minute because they accidentally wandered too close to a fucking black hole.
This giant fucking crazy ass Cthulhu beast just is like, oh, I made a dumb mistake and now I get sucked into this thing. Like, come on.
That I live next to.
I know, I was about to say, it lives next to the fucking thing, and it would never notice, like, over
And why would it give a shit about a fucking spaceship like that?
I must eat this little spaceship.
Like,
Oh wait, the little spaceship spat out an even littler spaceship. That is
That
what
was
I would
really-
my doom.
You know, like, they should have flew past it and been like, holy shit, what is that? And it should have left them alone.
As we were walking out of the theater, there was a scene in the trailers that after this movie went by, it's like, oh, that was never there. And that was the tentacles coming out, and like, what was that? And I feel like at some point in filming, there should have been TIE fighters chasing them through the tentacles of this thing. And it should have just been part of the environment that they were being
That would have
chased
been
in.
That would have been much cooler.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, what'd been really cool is if they're doing that exact same thing that you were describing, except all the pilots and everybody on board, all the ships look out the windows and see this thing, and then they all just start clawing their eyes out and screaming,
And they
then
start
just
going mad.
disemboweling each other and chanting nonsense. That would have been a really great twist
And then all
that
of a
Aaron
sudden,
would have appreciated.
Then all of a sudden they come out of it and they're just like, what the fuck just happened? And they're just like, oh well, we made it.
John, do you have a suggestion?
That's a hard question for me.
Do you want to think about it for a bit?
I'll think about it
All
for a
right,
bit.
I have one. Now, it goes a little ironically with what Aaron was saying.
Wait, Adam.
Yes.
Adam. I got
Wait,
a point about the topic and the poop fuck.
We're already on subject.
Okay, go ahead.
Melanie,
okay.
I think.
Like I said, it's a little ironic considering that I agree with your subject. But there is one thing I wish they would have added, and it's going to sound a little tropey at first, but hear me out. I wanted to see Vader. And not the way you see him in Rogue One, not a whole scene. I don't need a thing of him talking on the Star Destroyer being like, get that ship. I don't need any of that shit.
You want to see him taking a bath?
Yes, but we saw that in we saw that already in Rogue One, so I'm good on the bath scene. But the scene I would have liked to see it in was when they were on that planet, the mud planet, and they're shooting. Vader always went down and like fucking destroyed people in those missions. I would have loved to have seen him just in the distance, a silhouette with a red lightsaber, just cutting things down, and just maybe not necessarily even a shot of Solo reacting to that. Just that's a thing in the distance that we can tell, but it doesn't have to have any other attention called to it. I would have liked to have seen that. That would have been a nice, like, okay, that's a nod that I'm okay with.
You know what's interesting about that is that in this movie I had the thought, wow, this is the first Star Wars movie to not even reference the Force or the Jedi or the Sith. And
Yeah.
I thought that moments before Vision pulled out his red glowing blades, and then Darth Maul shows up. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you were so close. You were so
Yeah,
close.
you know what? That's a good point, though, because it would explain why Solo has no belief in the Force.
Yeah,
Because
he
he grew up in
never
a place where
encounters
that
the
wasn't a
Force in this
thing,
movie.
and he's been doing all this shit, and he never ran into any of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time...
Which makes, and I'm back to Darth Maul. I'll hold on
back
that
to Darth
thought.
Maul later.
'cause-
Okay, I would just like to say also you need to make a Darth Vader prequel. And this one takes place before the prequels. So
Before the wait a minute.
Anakin is a baby.
No, he's a sperm.
He's in like a baby carriage. He's being carried around to various places. He's being set down and changed and fed.
He was a slave, like from birth. What would he be doing?
Well, you say that, but
Exactly.
instantly I'm thinking what that movie is actually about is Plagueis and Sidious creating life and then offing each other. And I'm like, I'd watch that.
Yeah. That would be
Two
good.
Sith Lords screwing each other over as a film.
That would be cool.
To go along with your idea, Aaron,
Yes.
my way of improving this would be I want whoever, when they go to make a movie, a new Star Wars movie, I want everyone to sit down, look at what they have, and say, do we need to make this movie? And if we make this movie, how many people are we going to piss off? And think about that long and hard, and then make the movie. Because I feel like a lot of this is just like, well, we can make some money throwing out a Solo movie. We're going to make some money throwing out a Boba Fett movie. Oh, hey, Rogue One, let's make a movie about that.
I think it's more than that, though. I think they're trying to get younger people hooked on this so that they'll stick with their flood of endless Star Wars movies forever.
I'll give them credit. They've been going different directions with the movies and giving their directors a lot of creative freedom, and they intended to do that with this one with Miller and Lord.
And
But
really
apparently
work.
they just kind of
We'll get back
wrecked
to
it.
that.
But
Okay, are we switching topics?
No. Do you have any
I
other...
guess see, this movie is just like, this movie to me is such a checklist of nostalgia beats that I just don't think it needs to exist.
I guess that's
Yeah.
why I
And
didn't
that's-
feel any
like,
nostalgia.
going forward,
I
I
feel
just want
like-
to see new stories or
After-
deeper
yeah.
looks, like a really deeper look into the universe like Rogue One was.
While I agree with you, point of this particular subject,
Yeah.
You could change or add
Well,
or do
and
something
so the
to this movie.
The final
What would
thing
you
is,
do?
I would kill to see whatever exists of the original heavily comedic version of this film, the farce.
Okay.
That
That'd be
got
fun.
scrapped.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see it in like 40 years.
I have
Or-
another improvement idea for this movie, real quick. Don't put the Imperial March as
Oh my god.
Oh,
a
yeah,
real
that was
song
awful.
Oh my
within
God.
the fucking film.
I so agree. When I saw that the
What?
first time, I was like, "What? The fuck did you just do?
Oh, I didn't
You
even
made the
catch that.
Imperial theme diegetic in the universe of Star Wars. That is not a good reference.
Now you have to wonder every time Darth Vader walks down the
Do
hallway
they just
in the
play
original
that
trilogy.
shit? Like, is there a guy with there's what like a stormtrooper with a boombox that's to walk around and just play that shit? Otherwise, he gets in trouble.
Does Vader call up to like the floor ahead of time saying, "Hey, do me a favor, can you put this on the loudspeaker before I come in?" Wait, is it ready yet?
That's
You know my
one of-
favorite song, right? Play
That's one of
that.
those things that they probably thought was a nice little cute reference. It's like, no, it actually fucks with the entire lore of the universe. Not a good idea.
I guess also in terms of improvements, I would say one thing this movie did right that I would like to see more is to bring more characters from the holiday special into the film canon now.
We needed that.
We need it. So that's at least 2 characters.
Nala
Like
or
straight-
Mala,
Twiggy
whatever
or
her name
whatever.
Yeah,
the fuck.
Yeah.
Mala
the-
and his dad. I saw. Was that supposed to be Mala? Was that who that was?
I don't know.
I believe that the Wookiee
The ugly one?
befriends and rescues, I think, has the same
He
name
looked
as...
like a fucking werewolf.
Wasn't that
I was
nasty?
like, did they just use the wrong costume?
I was like, were they trying to make Chewie seem like a handsome Wookiee? Is that why they did that?
That was weird. Until
like,
that moment, I
amongst
never
his
realized
kind-
Chewbacca's a good-looking Wookiee.
Yeah.
like
That's
fucking
right.
shitty.
They
like this.
achieved
I
it,
see
I guess.
it, yeah.
You know, he's actually a nice looking one, and the rest of them are horrid and disgusting.
We've seen other Wookiee in the prequels.
They're not that
and they
bad.
look
So
normal.
They had tons of them. They didn't look like werewolves.
That one had obviously been beaten in the face many
Yeah,
times.
this is a very toxic environment that this Wookiee
They were
is in.
inbred. They forced them to inbreed for many generations.
Just in the face.
Okay.
just in the face.
So we'll move on. Thank you to Melanie for that one. The next subject is going to be CCR Star Panda. Let's just get on with it. Darth Maul.
Okay, I have a lot.
Go
so let me
for it,
just
go
kick
for
off
it.
Here. So, I have never been that much into the expanded universe. I absorb a lot of it through osmosis. So I know that in Star Wars Rebels, Maul is shown to have survived and lived with the prosthetic legs and all that, and it was a bizarre choice to bring him in for this because it's out of the blue. If you don't follow the EU, if you only watch the movies, like I generally would be the true me, there's no explanation for where this dude came from. And if you do follow the EU, you already know this guy's story, how his story ends, and it doesn't involve Solo. And he can't work as a foil for Solo because Solo doesn't believe in the Force. So if he's had a Sith dude chasing after him, it makes no sense.
This goes back to
yeah.
I forgot whose point it was about being for kids, because all the kids would have seen Star Wars Rebels. They would have seen what Maul was
Clone
doing,
Wars.
what he's been doing, Clone Wars, and I think he's in Rebels too.
He's in both. He's very essential in both.
Yeah.
So
Rebels is where he has his final.
because doesn't
his
he
finale.
like start leading a criminal syndicate? Because I'm not following it anymore.
Yes,
So.
that was the point of that, and that's why it was weird not just to see him on the big screen since Phantom Menace.
But I feel like they brought it in so the kids go, "Oh, hey, that's Darth Maul. He
Yeah,
did all these
exactly.
things."
That's-
And now,
there is an entire generation of Star Wars fans that grew up on the animated shows and not the movies. So they actually know him from that. So to them, it's like, okay, he's normal. I get why he's there. Because you're right. He goes into doing a whole bunch of stuff with a syndicate.
It was cool to have Ray Park back. And it's like, I mean,
That wasn't him.
it wasn't Ray Park.
No, even
It looked like an older Ray Park, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
well, the thing we saw was mostly CGI,
yeah.
but it was. I'm sure it was voiced by the Force Unleashed dude.
Sam
I went to
Wit-
Star Wars Celebration a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And somebody asked Ray Park what it was like when they brought Darth Maul back, and he just had blurted out, "I didn't even know until it was on Netflix." So he has nothing to do with the character anymore.
I know the
That's
voice wasn't
unfortunate.
Peter.
Sam Witwer or something like that.
Yeah, Sam Witwer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
so wait, is Darth Maul the leader of the Crimson Dawn in those shows?
Apparently-
At
in this
some
movie,
point,
it
but I
seems
believe
like
he
he is.
changes the name of it.
I
to something
don't know if
else.
it's the Crimson Dawn or if like there's all these different groups
Yeah.
underneath him that report to him.
So wait, are you saying that if
I
you
only saw
watched
that
this-
segment of Rebels one time.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's leading me to think if you had watched Rebels, would you know while all throughout watching this movie who these
like
guys are working for?
as soon as they say Crimson Dawn, does that trigger? Oh shit, Darth
it
Maul's the
didn't
leader
for
of
me. But I'm pretty sure because one of the guys I saw this with yesterday was Star Wars fan on like an extreme level,
Right.
And he started telling me, he's like, no, because then he like changed the name of the syndicate. Like there's a whole giant plot line. So for me, he's like, oh my god, I'm watching this. I can't believe they tied it together.
Because
like
the
that.
new name was the Magenta Evening.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why we didn't make the connection.
But I do remember vaguely an episode of Rebels where he basically became like the head of some sort of syndicate.
Right.
So that must be part of that. But even I, who have actually seen it, don't remember it that well, which goes to the next point. When I first saw it, I'm like, objectively, to the film-going audience, that's going to take everyone out of the movie for a second. Because, like, when we were driving over to the theater, all of us, literally Emery brought up, he's like, wouldn't it be funny if, like, Darth Maul was in the movie?
Well, that's not... That's
How
not
did you
what I
phrase
said.
it? How did you phrase it?
I was talking about how the last Star Wars T-shirt I owned was a Darth Maul shirt.
Yes.
Yeah, and then what did you say?
And then I said, that's one of the things that I actually kind of like about the prequels now, that I can look back at and be like, I appreciate the prequels because they actually had cool Sith villains that would appear in movies, like Darth Maul. I specifically said, like Darth Maul.
And I just sat
Adam's
there being like,
bright red in the back.
like it was eating me because I was like, Darth Maul's going to be in this movie. But
I'm glad to know that you thought he took you out of the movie because, as we all know, Adam hates differently abled characters in Star
I do,
Wars.
and I don't like that he has rubber legs. I don't
have
approve
legs
of
that work.
it. It's a sin, and I don't approve of his life choice.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So
Go back and check the old podcast with
yeah,
people.
it's funny. But yeah, no, but okay. So I knew he was alive because I watched all the Clone Wars. I watched Rebels, and even I was like, okay, I don't remember exactly how he gets involved in that syndicate stuff. I know it was a thing. But you guys who never I know you certainly never watched any of the animated stuff. Did you look at that?
He's pointing at Aaron.
I'm pointing at Aaron. Sorry. I did it.
But you could tell by the way you said you.
Yeah, I never talk nice to Aaron. It's a rule.
it was either Aaron or his sister.
So when you saw it, Aaron, did you just go like, the fuck?
I didn't mind it, actually. I was like, oh, that's fun. Didn't bother me.
Because when we saw it with a bunch of people last night, a bunch of them had no idea that Darth Maul was back and any of the animated stuff. They'd just seen the movies. And they were like literally turning to us like, is that the fucking Phantom Menace guy?
Well,
What
I
the
mean,
hell was that?
I knew he was alive in the anime.
You did. I did.
But
I knew
my
that
reaction
too.
my reaction to him
you
coming
knew
up
that.
was that was like my brain spiked at that moment. It was like
Yeah.
the one moment in the whole film I'm 100% awake. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, no, I knew that he existed before, and he wasn't always Sith even, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I knew that he had, like, a past, and I was like, oh, this is cool. They're, like, expanding on Darth Maul a little
Let me rephrase. To the majority of film-going audience, Darth Maul died in Phantom Menace. And then you see him in this movie, you're like, how?
Yeah, at the risk of sounding condescending, I'm not trying to be, but Aaron, you do understand that the Darth Maul that we see in this movie is after he was cut in half.
Yeah, this is
That's a
way
no.
after
He
the
didn't know
prequel.
that.
No,
Okay.
he did not.
Because you said
I
that
think
you knew
told
that Darth...
me once that he actually came back.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That's
Which
what we've
is
been
funny
talking about it for
because-
the past few minutes.
When
Right.
Lucas made
Right.
Phantom Menace, he redid the scene to include that shot of Maul coming apart as he falls because he knew that so many Jedi had fallen down so many pits that he hadn't sold the fact that Maul was dead. So he had to show
Yeah,
him
you know
getting
what?
chopped in two.
I'll be honest, I hadn't made that connection, but I was like, he looks a lot older. Why does he look older? And now that you've explained this to me and I'm paying attention, that makes a lot. That makes
This
a lot more
film
sense.
takes place after the prequel.
And that's actually
substantially.
that's
In fact,
Yeah.
A New Hope's
Before
about to
and
happen.
before
yeah,
the
no,
OT.
I get that, but I hadn't thought it through.
To be fair,
I was
it was
just
at
like-
the end of a movie that you really didn't care for.
Yeah,
right.
I don't
We're
blame
not
you.
knocking
To
it.
be
That's why
fair,
we're
that
talking
movie
about
came
this.
out almost 20 years ago. Think about
At
that.
this point, it was a good
God damn
20
it.
minutes
Sure
since
as
we
fuck
last seen
didn't
the
watch
case.
it again.
But that's kind of why I want Aaron's perspective the most because he had the least knowledge about this, and I
Yeah.
don't mean that as an insult.
And the only reason I knew that he'd come back again is because I vaguely remember that you mentioned that he comes back in those.
Yes.
But I didn't make that connection.
exactly. So
certainly.
since you didn't make that connection, when you saw it in the theater for the first time, what were you thinking?
I just thought, oh, that's cool. But I did not dawn on me that I completely forgot about the timeline and that the fact that he was already dead.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how big of a taking you out of the story, seeing that would be for too many people. Just because you would have to be at a very special level of understanding and knowledge of the Star Wars universe to have seen a movie that came out, like you said, almost 20 years ago, but also not have watched anything, cartoon-wise since then, but then also be a big enough fan to, like, remember Darth Maul and, like, remember in high detail.
Also, like, a casual Star Wars fan.
Yeah, a casual Star
I
Wars.
feel like most people are going to look at that and go, "Oh, hey, that's Darth Maul. Why is he here?" Or
Yes.
I'm a
Who
casual
is that guy?
Star Wars fan. I'm not a
You've
hardcore.
seen the animated stuff, though. You paid enough attention to know that he was.
But
like,
even then, I think
alive.
most casual
Yeah.
fans, to some extent, are going to be like, "Oh, I think Darth Maul's alive again."
I'm not even talking about just casual fans.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
By
the
casual
film
fan,
going
I'm like
audience.
specifically saying someone who goes to see the movies and that's it.
But that's 20 years ago. The film-going audience is not going to remember a movie 20 years ago.
But Darth Maul was like the most
was-
iconic
yeah.
element of the prequels.
I
like,
still have that.
for real.
He's
Oh, God,
blasted
yes.
everywhere.
Oh,
So,
yeah. You
so they-
remember
they-
him getting chopped.
You remember that.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
big thing. And let's not take away. This movie was meant to appeal to people who saw the original trilogy and just remember certain lines. Like Kessel Run, I remember
Yeah.
that, so that's why it's cool to see it. So that's the Darth Maul audience.
This is a take grandpa to the movies.
Yeah, and so
It was written by
We're the
member
grandpas.
berries.
I really want the perspective of someone who remembers Darth Maul getting cut in half and just what they thought when they saw that, going, "Didn't he die? What? That's what I want."
It's so hard for me to grasp that there's a person out there that remembers Darth Maul being cut in half, but hasn't been paying attention for the last
Dude,
20
literally,
years.
I went to an entire theater with these people. I went to a whole bunch of people like, "What the heck? I thought he was dead."
Oh my
We just
God.
didn't go into it. Like, that's the normal movie-going audience. We're
Wow.
a little too involved. We're literally doing a podcast about it.
I'm way
Obviously,
too involved.
we have more
Obviously.
sense.
All of
I
them
don't-
is not who we're talking about.
Yeah,
That's weird.
yeah. Well, that broke something.
Probably because I'm just on the internet more than the average
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Because the reason I know that Darth Maul is still alive is not because I've seen him actually in a cartoon being alive and doing things. It's that I've seen fucking references to him. you
Yeah,
know?
that's true. That's very true.
So.
For the reference, all I've seen of his appearances in the shows is on YouTube. I saw the clip of his last scene in
yeah,
Rebels.
well,
I
Yeah,
thought that
that's
was, and kudos. That's a very nice scene. It's well.
that's all I've seen. Is so
yeah.
I don't.
I'd rather
I-
let you guys watch it in
Don't
context.
spoil it.
Sorry.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll see
That's
it.
why I'm
Yeah,
just
I
saying.
might go and
last
see
scene.
that now, actually, because I'm kind of curious.
Like, Darth Maul is the only thing that makes me excited about this movie.
It's a
At all.
scene. It's a scene
I would
that
actually agree with
some
that.
some fans didn't like it because
I did
it was
not
kind of
like the
low-key,
way it
but-
ends.
But if
It's
if,
incredibly anticlimactic.
well, the thing is, it's sort of it's a heavy nod to the samurai cinema that inspired everything.
And
are we
it's
talking
a heavy nod to you haven't
The
seen
final scene between
the
final
Obi-Wan and
Darth Maul's
Maul,
final
I think.
You had to mention Obi-Wan.
So,
Obviously,
could-
I
saying
didn't.
Obi. Alden did. The voice in my head
Okay,
said Obi-Wan.
nerds, could Darth Maul be in a sequel?
Nerds, the one who actually has a Star Wars fan film award calls us nerds.
That's
You should put that award in your lap while you tell it.
filmmaker.
It's a Star Wars fan film award.
Film.
It literally has R2D2 and C3PO.
I want you to stare.
Plus,
I
look
want
at that
you to
Yoda you've
look
got
at
right
that
there.
Yoda on your wall and apologize to him for calling us a nerd.
Remember when we had all these rules about tangents and all we've done is gone on tangents?
Wait, Yoda's taking the mic.
Ask you a yes or no question. Sense the force in my left hand. Press it and answer you. I will.
You should ask him about Darth Maul. See what he says.
Is Darth Maul going to be in the Han Solo sequel?
Yes, I feel this.
All right, well, there you go.
Hold on. Ask him if they're nerds.
It's canon.
Are they nerds sitting across from us?
The answer you seek is yes.
Yoda knows everything.
He's definitely
that toy
correct
is
about that
fixed.
one. Yeah.
That Yoda, you have paid that Yoda. to say it.
Yoda, am I a nerd?
Strong I am with the force, but not that strong.
Ah,
See?
he has no idea.
Yeah.
You're such a mysterious man, Aaron. Not even Yoda can read your true
That's
feelings.
right. It's a very complex question, and he recognizes that.
Alden clearly has stuff to say. Go.
Do I?
You kept saying like you sounded like you're getting interrupted constantly. No? All right, never mind.
No, you
your
shut him
mama
right
on?
up.
We were talking about Darth Maul, and then I said ask Yoda about it. Yoda answered, so now I got nothing left to say.
I guess you're good. All right then. So thank you, CCR Star Pana, for having us talk about Darth Maul. I know that was your dream.
God, are we already done with that? I feel like there's
Do
a
you want
million
to talk
other
about
things
more?
to say about
Go
Darth
ahead,
Maul.
talk about it some more.
I don't
You
know.
want him to be in the next movie.
Yeah. Well, what was that cool like thing on his new lightsaber? Right? He had like some weird fucking
Hooks.
Oh, what was it?
handbrake
Oh,
or something.
yeah. Because the blade is not sharp enough. Sometimes you need to get in real close.
Yeah,
That's actually in the show.
it's in the show. What is it? What is it used for?
The like the handguard part.
Yeah, he didn't have that originally.
That
but-
way you can
What?
punch people with it.
Oh, he punches people with it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
highly recommend you go back and watch Clone Wars and Rebels.
I think he would be a bizarre choice to put in a Solo sequel. He flat out has no place.
I agree completely.
Well,
He would, but
the
he-
Solo
thing-
sequel is going to be Boba Fett.
It should be.
Solo's going to be barely involved in that movie, probably, or maybe not.
A Solo sequel. I just want to see him working for Jabba.
I don't think you need a Solo sequel so much as you just do Boba Fett with
Yeah.
Solo in it.
I want to see a Boba Fett and Jabba and Scumbags movie.
I think we could do a Solo sequel with Maul in it, but Maul would be more of him and Solo would never cross paths, but Maul would be more of a what's the word I'm looking for? Just behind the scenes, controlling, manipulating, planning.
a sort of a Phantom Menace. If you
Good way to put it.
Yeah,
The
the
thing is,
exactly.
I think John's
he's-
point about that was perfect. I don't about this whole being, or was it, maybe it was for maybe Aaron actually said this about this.
Or another question?
Thanks,
Shut
Yoda.
up.
No, we're not
Shut
talking to you
up, Yoda.
now,
We're
dude.
not talking to you,
You're not
Yoda.
on mic anymore, Yoda. This movie was not made for us. It was made for a newer generation of Star Wars fans who, like we said, grew up with Rebels and grew up with Clone Wars. So seeing Darth Maul in there, he's just expected to be in that part of the timeline.
I actually disagree with you on that. I
Really?
think this is really made for the people who go, oh, that's Chewie pulled off the arm there. Chewie, let him. We should let him win.
You're talking about the movie as a whole.
Well, you're talking about that scene?
I'm talking about the Darth Maul scene.
Okay,
The
okay.
reason that exists is because a whole generation saw Clone Wars and Rebels. So to them, seeing it is not weird, and it just fits in the timeline. That's why it's there. I don't think it has anything to do with like, hey, we're setting up a villain for Solo. You're right. That doesn't make any sense and would not be logical.
Yeah,
for
I
them
think
to do.
by and
Wasn't
large,
there-
this is a movie for old nerds, and then there's this one young nerd scene.
Yeah,
in
and
there.
the only reason the old nerds like is they're like, oh, Maul was kind of
Yeah.
cool. But then
Yeah,
Wasn't
but
there
I didn't give it a
some,
second thought. I did not give it even like a second thought about why he was alive and like how it fit in. I was just like, oh, it's Darth Maul, and then I just left. I was just like,
exactly.
whatever.
And so it accomplished everything it needed to.
Wasn't there something?
I don't know. I don't remember there being one.
I have a question that has to do with Darth Maul, kind of. Just so you guys can maybe help me remember. But what exactly did Kira accomplish at the end there, talking to Darth Maul?
She
What was
is
her
now.
fucking
She's
plan?
replaced.
She's in
Vision.
charge of Crimson Dawn.
She's
now.
in.
And
She's
she,
in like the
she
second
got away
command
with
now.
the fuel.
Also, she had all the Infinity Stones there too.
She had all the
Like,
Infinity
She didn't have the fuel.
She did not have the
She had
fuel.
the-
No. They gave
No.
that to
No.
the.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So what she
Rebel-
got was the ship and the ranking power. And
Yeah.
if I recall correctly, the guy I was talking to last night said that I think her character changes names and is actually like the ruler of the Syndicate in the show.
Okay.
But I don't remember that
And
specifically.
and she throws Maul off of Solo's path, right? Because
Maul didn't know anything about Solo.
but I know exactly. She blames Woody Harrelson, says Woody Harrelson
Yeah.
stole everything.
Yeah.
She
and then
still likes Solo.
She likes him, but at the same time, as Woody Harrelson tells her, like, you can't really ever trust anybody, and
Yeah.
this girl actually just used you to take over.
yeah.
Well, yeah. She kept saying. They all kept saying she's changed. She's not the same person you knew. So
Yeah.
I heard spoilers about this movie that were wrong, so I knew there was some kind of betrayal coming,
Yeah.
but a completely different type of betrayal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little weird that the that young woman who was the raider, or the
I thought that was
The
interesting.
pirate.
I thought
like
that
that.
was Woody Harrelson and Thandie Newton's daughter at first. I was like, wait, what's going on?
That's still what I think. it is.
I know what you mean. Yeah, for that, but I had that thought, and a second later, it's like that makes no sense.
But do you know when they put
But
the,
I thought it for a second.
they put that tracker on the Millennium Falcon, right? And they were just like, no, we'll bring it
Oh,
right
that-
back or whatever.
is there
That
any
bothered
and-
me. Like,
yeah,
is
because then she laughs evilly, like, ugh.
Is there literally any point in the existence
What
of
a
this
violation of her
spaceship?
fucking
no,
character.
what bothered me
Tracker
was
on it.
how much shit that ship went through and what it smashed into and broke. And they're like, oh, we
Yeah.
can still track it. Like,
And just remember, he hasn't trashed the interior yet. Just imagine what he has to do to the interior of that ship in
Oh,
10
my
years to
goodness.
make it look like New Hope.
I always
Going-
thought the Millennium Falcon was a piece of shit. And like it would always look like a piece of shit. So it being all brand spanking new, like that.
Here's the level of nerd I am. In the trailers, they showed the Millennium Falcon brand spanking new, gleaming white. And it's like, and my concern was, why are they making the ship look new and cool when we know that these ships have been in use as cargo vessels since the prequels because we saw them on screen?
I'm going to top
And
you on,
they reference
I'm
it. They
gonna
talk.
do
They
2
explain
points
it.
to top you on that one. First, we saw it in Revenge of the Sith, and it looks like
Yep.
it does in A New Hope, so they actually fucked up.
Well, no, apparently it's supposed
No,
to
he's
be...
right. It's canon.
Oh,
It
oh,
is
is
actually
it?
the Millennium Falcon
Yep.
in one shot of Revenge of the Sith that looks like the A New Hope version.
Huh.
So it is actually technically a mistake. But I'm sure they'll retcon and say, no, now the one in Revenge of the Sith is not actually.
Lando did get a bunch of new. There was a scene where he's like, "Oh, you've made some improvements or whatever." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I did this and this. Maybe you
Okay.
got it cleaned up."
Okay.
In
Good
like
point.
The
Good point.
Wikipedia type continuity, they're supposed to be like modifiable ships you can grab
Yeah.
onto different
Yeah.
things. So
Oh, yeah.
You can
Fair enough.
jigger things.
Mod-
Right, so I'll accept that for now. The second point on out nerding you is there is a point in there. Remember, they open up the little like the floor panels, and that's where they put like the weapons. If you go
Yeah.
back and watch A New Hope,
Han
there's
put
a
those
scene.
in.
Han says, "I put these in to smuggle things." How would he have done that while they just had the ship
Maybe
for like 20
Han
seconds?
Solo's a liar.
That could be. That could be. Too.
And a scoundrel.
And he lies about the pettiest fucking thing.
That's just that's like really petty lying. Like he didn't say like these are here for that. He's like
Yeah.
I built
Until
these.
Empire Strikes Back, he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I had this friend. He did all this stuff, not me." Oh.
The thing is, like, was he really his friend? Like, I felt like their relationship never got a chance to even develop. They were like, quote, friends, real
They'll
sudden.
develop the friendship in the sequel.
That's
I have to hope.
This-
That's what I'm hoping.
This feels like part one of a
It really
planned
does, and like,
trilogy.
if they developed it in the sequel could be a lot better because their relationship could actually be really great and interesting.
I would have liked to have seen a whole Lando L3 movie. There were
There's-
more. You know, the thing is, Solo here, they made the mistake that they often do. They take the interesting roguish side character and make him the protagonist, and so he has to become a little more clean cut. So Lando is the Han Solo in
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
I will say that I did like how they altered the deal and he had to accept it, and he sort of established like
Yeah.
Lando has to accept deal altering situations all the time.
Get it? Huh?
And he has to pray that nobody alters them anymore.
Right, exactly.
The one,
you know?
the one thing that didn't happen that I was expecting is that when Lando just books it out of there when the bandits show up, I was expecting him to come back in the big heroic moment at the end, and he didn't. He just he
just left.
He did. He
He
went
just booked
100% Han Solo.
Whoa.
He
Yeah.
just got out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some. There were some groaner moments around him though when they got there and they're like, "Oh yeah, like mining. I would never do that." Well, that's where the money is. Well then, do you remember that at all?
Yeah.
That made me groan.
Why did they show all those sad desert people and then walk up to the bar and say, "I'm going to get a drink"?
Yeah, that was weird.
Like what?
it's like
why?
because you
Like
look
all
at
these
that
people
and
are
think, like,
sad and they're like depressed and they live in the desert and it's awful. Let's get a drink.
Now, let's get into the themes of imperialism
And
again.
it's like this fuel was apparently the most expensive thing in the galaxy, and this is
Yeah.
the only place that can refine it that the Imperials
Well,
don't
this is-
control. Shouldn't they have
Yeah.
some money? Shouldn't they?
Well,
lives
I don't know.
not suck?
This is like a backwater illegal refinery plant. I can buy that they're operating. If they're operating if this is being run by a criminal empire, these guys aren't going to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're probably borderline slaves
Yeah.
at best.
I'm gonna go back to that thing where we were complimenting the movie on things. I have one point, the Han thing, how it's pronounced differently. Originally, the reason that's off is because Billy D. Williams was not an actor. He was just a popular guy for different reasons. And when they cast him in the movie, if you look in the behind the scenes of that,
He calls
they
him
had to
Han.
give him line reads direct, and he just couldn't do it. And there's tons of scenes of, even if you watch the final versions of films, he constantly screws up lines.
What did
He
you think
says
about that,
Han
Alden?
every single
Alden.
time. He says
He
Han,
says
old
it
buddy.
exactly.
Yeah.
In the original trilogy, he says it wrong all the time. So I like that this movie explains it was more of an insult jab as opposed to just the actor can't act.
And Han sounds more like Lando, so it's like it's the same assonance. So maybe
You and your
he's-
fucking slant rhymes.
That's
Hando
not a slant
Solo.
rhyme. That's assonance.
Hando
That's an
Solo.
actual English term.
It's all ass to me.
I'm an English nerd. If you want to
Seems
go there.
asinine.
It is asinine. There you go.
It is.
I believe English is Galactic Common or Galactic Standard in the Star Wars universe.
I
You're a
believe
Galactic
that-
Standard
Patizio.
nerd.
I believe that there's a section of the Millennium Falcon that wasn't installed properly during this movie and should have been removed. And the satellite dish had been broken off by this point and shouldn't have been on the ship.
How many times is that stupid satellite dish gonna get broken off?
That's a good question.
it's made to be broken off at this point. I'm pretty sure if this was engineered at all well, they're going to know whoever's spying the ship is going
The
to
fucking pilot always has to do that thing that Aaron hates where it squeezes
Yeah.
vertically through
Still?
something.
They even made it a giant plot point.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I needed to say
Go
real
for it.
quick. Oh God, I'm forgetting it. It
Well,
was
you-
very important.
We'll take a minute because
Okay.
what I think we should do here is we got a bunch of shout outs we got to do.
Okay.
All right, so all the people we're about to shout out are podcast Patreon backers, the appropriate level for that.
This is going to be fun.
So, Aaron, you go ahead and pitch how you want to do this.
Well, Emery came up with the idea.
Okay.
I believe.
Kind
And
of. It was a
Was
joint.
it a joint
Yeah, it
effort?
was a joint
Okay.
effort.
We still want to give Aaron the credit.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
Aaron will
that.
take the credit.
You guys never do
Even though
that.
he had nothing to do. He's the one
he is
person
the
in
one
this
person
room.
in the room
He
who
had
has
nothing to
fuck
do
all.
with it.
I will take full credit for this idea.
You had fuck all to do with it.
We are going to talk about our patrons as if they were a member of our crew and how they betrayed us. Now, should we also define
It is
which?
taken as granted that you will betray us.
Right. But
Right.
we should define which, like, what their sort of
Yeah.
character was too, briefly.
Yeah, however you want to present it.
Okay,
Just-
so Emery
It
will
was your
start.
idea, and maybe you should.
Yeah,
it was
since
your
you know
idea.
all
Want me
about
to
it,
start?
it was all
All right,
you.
I'll start.
Okay.
Give me one.
All right, so the first person up is Grant Sheet. How did Grant Sheet betray us?
Grant Sheet was a button flicker. Mm-hmm. He was responsible for flicking a button on our ship. Do we all have a ship? Like,
Well, yeah, we have
We're all
one
on the
ship,
same ship,
right?
One
obviously.
ship, right?
So,
So-
it's all of us plus all the Patreon backers on the
Yeah.
same
It
ship.
really
Got it,
helps the main pilot to
One
have
by
a button
one,
flicker.
they're betraying us.
So
Yeah.
he
because
just
we keep.
And
going
apparently the
through
five
narrow
of us at
spaces.
least work together.
Yeah.
he flicked
We
this button. Nobody actually knows what it did when he flicked the button, but he said it was really important. Ultimately, though, he betrayed us by not flicking the button at a really crucial moment, and half the ship was sheared off.
It causes an implosion on the island.
Unfortunately,
You know what
he
the
was
button-
in the half that sheared off and died. So
What the button does is it turns the Millennium Falcon
On
vertical.
side. Yeah.
to go through stupid fucking gaps that are too small somehow for other ships.
Next up, John Roth.
Is this me?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. John Roth was the seductive male prostitute on the crew, and it was his job to seduce the powerful woman so that he can get her tampons, so that we could swab them for her DNA to create a clone of her.
Personal place here.
Was he like a Firefly concubine? Like it was respectable, or was he not respectable?
He was not respectable
respected? Okay.
at all. we dragged him from like the most hideous, gross,
Space
nasty.
whores.
Yes.
Star whores. That's what I meant to say. Damn it! I
How
ruined
did he
it.
betray us?
He betrayed us by falling in love. He fell in love with the
Didn't
powerful
do his
woman.
job.
Didn't do his
Went full
job.
Firefly on us.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Do you want to?
Sure.
Alden's in the middle.
Oh yeah. Okay. Alden. Yes. Alden.
Alden, do you wanna
as
do
we
this?
Look to the invisible.
Sure,
space.
I can do this.
All right, Nick Ferreira.
Nick Ferreira. Nick Ferreira was actually the janitor on our ship. And the reason he
The
betrayed
space
us,
janitor. He was the,
the space janitor.
Yeah,
the
give him his
space
full
janitor.
title.
Star janitor.
Star.
He hasn't earned
yes,
that
he was-
yet. Don't.
Yeah.
He
do
was
that.
the executive star janitor of the ship. And his job, he betrayed us. He was supposed to unclog the toilet. He did not. And I don't know if you've ever been in an enclosed space like a spaceship, when someone has left the toilet clogged, but
yeah.
the smell
Oh yeah. We've all been. there.
was awful.
For a
And
long
just ditched
time.
us for a long time. It took us literally years to get the stench out of that bathroom.
And every time the ship went vertical, it would spill out.
all over the fucking place.
Yeah, it was bad.
You've got Daniel Leapley.
Daniel was our ship's rancor keeper. He had one job, which was to not take the Rancor for walksies while we were in hyperspace. And now our Rancor is lost in all space and time. It's his fault. And I don't care if he's sitting there crying. It's still his fault.
Put on a shirt and keep the fucking Rancor, bitch.
So I've got Cheesemaster 007. Now, it turns out he is actually the prequel story to the toilet incident. Basically, he knew Emery was lactose intolerant. In this version on the ship, Emery's lactose intolerant. And Cheesemaster 007 very predictably put cheese in all of your food. And it hit hard, and you clogged the shit out of that toilet that had been previously broken. So once...
Wow.
Yeah. There's a whole plot line happening here. They worked together.
They were working together.
And it was bad. Cheesemaster 007.
Doesn't that mean that Emery also betrayed us? By
Not
creating the
intentionally.
stench?
I was the fall guy.
He was the fall guy. His bowels betrayed him.
Yes.
Okay, next up, you've got Matthew, Aaron.
Matthew was a droid. He was responsible for a section. Actually, he was a droid section of floor on the ship that would talk while you walked over it. And he would often comment on your shoes or what you were wearing. He was just a very polite section of floor. And then if sometimes a lady would walk over wearing a skirt, then he would leak.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what role he played, and so his betrayal was one day he just left. He just left the ship, and there was a hole in the floor. Turns out that part of the floor could actually move around on its own.
Emery, you've got Rob Comjathy.
Okay. Rob Conjathy was our ship's racist stereotype alien. Classic Star Wars trope. And he betrayed us when he, called us all out on being a bunch of old white men and got us all arrested.
Speak for yourself here.
Yeah, Alden's not white.
Alden was the only one who got away. The rest of us were arrested by the Empire.
I'm surprised you're having such a hard time remembering this, Emery. It's like the most dramatic thing that happened on our ship.
But for Emery, it was a Tuesday.
Alden, you've got Michael Vanderslice.
Michael Vanderslice. So Michael Vanderslice was actually supposed to create our secret smuggling compartments, but he was so good at creating these secret compartments that he actually forgot. Not only did he forget where he created them, he forgot that he created them and proceeded to lie and say that somebody else did it. And
Wow.
ruin all our history. You know?
For 3 weeks, we could hear his voice echoing from the walls of the ship that he was trapped in a compartment somewhere, and none of us could find him. He just went quiet eventually.
Eventually he stopped fucking lying and just shut up.
And last but not least, John, you've got Ben Barker.
Ben Barker was in charge of scheduling makeout sessions in Aaron's cape closet. But eventually we found out that while he was supposed to be keeping Aaron away, he was actually allowing Aaron to pay him to watch people have makeout sessions on his capes in the cape closet.
Oh, yeah.
That's fucked up.
That was awesome.
So really, he really helped Aaron.
Helped Aaron, but betrayed us.
Yeah, okay.
Because Aaron not knowing was the whole appeal. Of
Ultimately betrayed me by letting me do something that I shouldn't have been doing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like letting you
He
have
altered
junk
the
food,
deal.
but too much.
Wait, we have absolutely no women on this crew. Who was making
Well, it's
out
Star
with who?
Wars. This is OT. This is OT.
You're lucky if you get one.
Yeah, that's why we had the racist alien
Yeah.
stereotype on board.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was making out with the capes, obviously. God damn.
Anyway, that'll do it for shout-outs here. Thank you, everybody, for being a good sport. Much appreciated. Anytime if you want, you can become a Patreon backer, or you must be, and upgrade your pledge and be shouted out and have various lies.
In
told
horrible
about you.
ways, and we'll offend you. It'll be great.
Yeah. So, we will move on. I guess we have one, obvious subject left to discuss, but anybody feel free to jump in with any other thoughts. But the one obvious one is we could talk about the production nightmares of this film so that people get a sense of really
Yeah.
what that is about. Do you guys want to just do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you want to do this, or do you want to do this?
I'll start with
Go for
if people don't know, this movie had a really tortured history.
Yeah.
It was
Going all the way back to Jedi.
say again.
Going all the way back to Return of the Jedi.
This movie?
Yes, Lawrence Kasdan has wanted to do this movie since Return of the Jedi.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Who's Lawrence Kasdan?
He's one
Co-
of the,
co-writer.
He was co-writer of this film, but co-writer of the original trilogy.
He,
Oh, wow.
he worked with Lucas and Spielberg on a bunch of stuff.
Oh, okay.
He's a big wig. And he's still involved now.
Yeah,
But,
like he literally was, him and his son wrote this.
Crazy.
And so originally this was going to be directed by Lord and Miller, the directors who did the Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, who basically have a reputation of taking terrible premises that should not exist and turning them into unbelievably successful movies. So I was interested in that, but apparently they pushed so hard into turning this into a straight up farce that they were like the crew was panicking on set.
Yeah, and they also did massive amount of takes. Like 30, 40 plus per shot.
So basically they could not handle this production.
They couldn't, and they were also encouraging serious actors to do massive amount of improv. And it
Oh
just,
no.
yeah, and
Imagine this movie as an improv comedy.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's
Don't
an improv comedy.
Ghostbusters it.
Improv
No.
especially when the other thing we know about it is the guy who actually plays Solo, who I think I did not like his performance.
He didn't do anything for this.
Yeah.
But in the Coen Brothers movie where you guys break out, he was fantastic. I just don't see how he goes from that to this.
Yeah. He's not that great of an actor, I guess, outside of what you're talking about, and he couldn't do that. And that was a big part of it. They largely cast him based on appearance. And now there's apparently another actor who everybody's like, how come you didn't pick that guy? Because it was Harrison Ford's pick. He even looks like him and sounds like
was
him.
he
Oh,
Harrison
yeah,
Ford's pick?
yes.
That guy who has actually played a young Harrison
Yeah.
Ford in the movie. He tried to essentially did an audition for this long time ago by just putting a video of himself
Yep.
on YouTube doing a spot on Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and it's astonishing they didn't pick him. And the backstory
Well,
of
the reason for that is that basically people are saying if you picked him, you would get an okay actor doing an excellent impression of Harrison Ford. That's all you'd get. That was
that would have been better than what we got.
I would have been more. I would have bought.
Yeah,
this was
but
Han Solo.
if you hear the story about how this dude was actually cast, according to Lord and Miller, they claim they interviewed like 3,000 people. This dude was literally the first person to come in, and it's like, okay, so really you just got a first impression and just ran with it because there's no way. I mean, just the law of averages. First guy who comes in gets the thing out of 3,000. No, you just saw him and went, yeah, all right, let's just put him in the probably pile and then just get through the rest of this. Because if your whole production revolves around improv and craziness, you just kind of... And apparently the version they made was considered unwatchable to the point where Disney was willing to spend fuck tons of money to eliminate its existence and redo it entirely. Like, it must have been that bad. So, behind
but
this...
I'll also say,
Yeah.
Rogue One it wasn't as well known at the time, but Rogue One also had a very troubled production.
It did.
with massive
All of
amounts
them have.
reshooting.
All of them have,
Yeah.
except Force Awakens.
Yeah,
Even Last Jedi had that same problem.
yeah,
But-
and that came out. So really, I don't care what kind of pain, and these guys have actually worked with me on creative products, so they can tell you, I don't care what kind of pain takes place in the process of making it. Just get something good out in the end, and which is why a lot of people don't want to work with me anymore. But, so just give me something good at the end, and I don't care about any of that. You're not going to bother me with that. But you can see this is such a wrenching change. You can see the DNA of the former movie poking out here and there.
It definitely comes out. But going back to the actor again, one last time, the other thing that has come out about that is that it got to a point with him, he couldn't learn lines, he couldn't really do the role. They had to have a specific acting coach on the set at all times for him, and they eventually gave up trying to teach him how to just do a performance, and they would just give him line reads and just say, imitate me.
Oh,
And that's...
God.
That's rough.
But knowing that, rewatch parts of that movie in your head right now. Does it not kind of come off that way? It's a dude just kind of imitating someone he just saw do something, right? And then they go, okay, take.
Yeah, and there was some stuff that he did that was off, and it's too bad because he didn't like anger me by any means, but it's too bad that he couldn't have done a better job and been amazing and really that would have improved the movie
The
somewhat.
harshest comment I'd come up with, and this is harsher than I would normally go, it's a prequel level performance. of
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
who's trying
Yeah.
pushing just to get through the dialogue.
Yeah, he's just saying the words that were on the page, and you can really tell if
As
you go back.
As Harrison Ford himself once said, George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it.
Yeah. Yeah, Harrison Ford was notorious for going to George Lucas and telling him, like, I'm not saying it, this doesn't make sense, like, and he would reword it. George would work with people on that, but then when he was doing the prequels, people were too afraid to challenge him on anything. 'Cause
Hell,
they're like,
hell exists in Star Wars now with all the new movies.
always did.
I did it.
Yeah,
Was it always in there?
actually,
always did.
Solo himself says it in A New Hope.
All right,
Empire Strikes Back.
I withdraw my my complaint. It's just,
Yeah.
I,
Oh, no,
every
sorry,
new
Empire.
Star
It
Wars
says it in
movie,
Empire.
I notice some new little thing sneaks
Yeah.
in.
What
Dogs. and-
hell exists?
Yeah, in Empire,
I'll see you in hell. Yeah, he
Solo
says that.
actually
Oh,
says
yeah.
to a guy, I'll see you in hell! And it was like, okay. And then he says it again in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's great.
Okay, I will accept that as. A deep
They're
cut
going to make a whole entire new movie that
Yeah.
explains what hell is.
Yeah,
and-
like Star Wars hell.
It's a
what
different
that's
planet.
like. Yeah.
I think we know what
It's
Star.
gonna be a planet called Hell.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see a Solo picture.
Yes.
It goes there.
It's going to be populated entirely by Jar Jar Binks.
Oh God!
You know,
And
Basically,
Ewoks and
this
forks.
entire movie exists to explain why the hell the Kessel Run is measured in parsecs.
Yeah.
yeah. That when you think about it, that's like the driving force of the film is
Yeah.
we have to do the Kessel Run.
Yeah, they took that one line from the movie and turned it into a movie.
And you know what pissed me off about that is like we all had in our heads what that was. It was just a race.
Yeah,
We don't know.
I knew what the old EU explanation was, which was also that it was this difficult smuggling run that you had to
Sure.
go bank off of black holes and things. So the closer you get to these gravity wells,
Yeah.
the faster you could get.
But
Which
that's
is
But it was
basically
just
what
like-
they used.
But
just-
that's a version you've actually read.
Yeah.
When you just watch the movie
Yeah.
with nothing else, you just imagine something, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it work.
that's what Star Wars
So
is.
now you've dedicated
Yeah.
a film to that, and
Wow.
it's going to disappoint everyone.
That actually makes
It's
the whole
like-
gravity well scene even dumber in my mind because you're right. Gravity wells are an excellent way, using physics, to slingshot your way around it. I mean, that's what fucking real astronauts do.
That's what I was-
Is
when-
they use gravity to propel themselves in
Yeah.
different directions and at different speeds.
There was a moment in this movie as I'm watching it, and they're coming up on the gravity well. I'm going, "Oh, this is the moment where he's going to slingshot off."
Yeah.
But no, he ends
Yeah.
up just trying to pull, shove away from it directly.
It's
And-
like whoever wrote that part
Yeah.
didn't fucking understand physics or something.
Okay,
But
this
they
is
all-
Star Wars.
Well, I had a whole argument about that in Last Jedi.
But
when
they
we talked
they
about
did
that, so.
Yeah.
they did show us how to kill Cthulhu if he ever comes back.
Shove him
Yep.
in a black hole.
All we gotta
Got
do is
it.
throw him in a gravity well.
Trick him into
And we're
going
done.
into a gravity well.
But-
Hey,
like-
we're all going crazy, but hey, look at there's a gravity well over here. Don't
Even
you want to eat this
when
little
we-
spaceship?
Watch that movie when he did the run in less than 12 parsecs or whatever. It wasn't even like, it was just like, no point did you go, oh, he went in less 12 parsecs. He landed on the planet like, oh, by the way, I did that in 12 parsecs. Yeah, woohoo. Like, how are you supposed to know that? There was no
There was
measurement.
no
He
system
just said
in
it.
this movie to count down.
Also,
Yeah.
how is everybody totally aware of what the Kessel Run is? If what it is specifically going from that one planet to that one backwater fucking
Yes,
barely
I thought of
known
that too.
refinery.
Yeah.
And,
And it's just-
it's something
Oh, I know how. Because that was the run that funded the rebellion. 'Cause
Sure.
But
that
that
fuel got it was what got the fuel to the rebellion. That was it. Oh my god.
But
that's why they know. That's
Because
why
that
the Kessel Run is what got the rebellion going.
But what
Oh,
you
God
say?
damn it.
But when you say that he ran it in 12 parsecs,
That doesn't mean other people tried to run it.
other people tried and failed. So that place is regularly robbed.
That would be like
Enough
me
It's a common occurrence, man. People just go in there
saying
and
that
lose their shit.
I drove the throughway in less than 2 days or whatever, in less than 20 miles. Like,
Yeah.
what? No, it's 20 miles. Like, there's nothing you did differently.
Yeah, it
I'm
really,
going to drive around the 7-Eleven and slingshot my way. Oh, I did it in 12 miles.
only if you drove through the 7-Eleven. Like, that's
totally-
basically the argument.
They totally used Waze to get around that traffic jam that that superstar destroyer that was in their way. Because they luckily had a really good guidance program.
Yeah,
But they got
best
hooked
ever
up
somehow.
about halfway through, which was interesting.
Yeah, by the Eldritch Beast. Yeah, that wasn't listed on the map. Nobody had charted that area.
She didn't map out the whole area. Somehow forgot that beast.
Although apparently
Somehow
it may
it'll
have
kind of
seemed
explain why he knew that he was in a space worm in Empire Strikes Back.
That's
there were
the
shots
point,
in this like
dude.
this is another movie like Force Awakens where every scene is some kind of callback to something you saw in the old. In the
The
original
problem is we
trilogy,
already
the
saw that
space-
in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. They need to improve Star Wars movies by not doing that shit anymore and making new things that future movies can call back to and be like, remember when they did this fucking awesome thing in, in the Han Solo movie?
That I've never seen before.
Right, that I'd never seen before.
Nope.
Instead of just doing the same fucking thing over and over again. Make new memorable moments.
I agree completely, but in that vein, the one thing they did do very well is I kind of talked on before. I like when they reference a couple of characters, just like Aura Singh, like how she died, whatever.
To be honest, that's my least favorite type of shout out. The literal
Really?
shout out. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't like
one
that.
thing I liked was
If I like Bosk, I don't. They mentioned Bosk in this movie. It's like
what I
that's
like
not
about
getting
that
made.
is that it does tie the universe together a bit. I like that.
See, I don't like making the universe smaller. For its
You're not
own
making it
sake.
smaller. You're referencing
Everybody knows everybody.
That I agree with, but
Yeah.
but those are specific. There's a specific reason he would know Aura Singh. I like that they mentioned Felucia, so it wasn't this one-off thing that you only saw in Revenge of the Sith. You heard it at least mentioned. Small stuff.
I like that they mentioned Fellatio too, though.
Yeah, fellatio for sure. But you're right. I don't like the groaners, but we've been over that. There is a difference, and
I don't-
like the Imperial March being canon.
Yeah.
And the way they made things so like just conveniently happen, like he
Oh
just
my God.
I have a chance to join the Empire. I guess I might as well do that to escape. Or like they never explained how he became a good pilot. They're like, all right, he was at the academy
He
for
just
3
is.
years.
He's
and
very
now
lucky
he's-
that. Yeah, he's very
Yeah.
lucky that when security goes off in an airport, if you've already made it past the gates, then you got no
Yeah.
real problem.
Yeah, nobody comes out for you at that
Yeah.
point. TSA is like, you made it through the metal
Or,
detector. I guess
or
he's
especially
good.
on Kessel, when they're like on Kessel and they just happen to find Chewie's family. Like,
Well,
Why?
watching this, I'm thinking, is this the new canon explanation of how he met the Wookiee who eventually becomes his wife? Because the holiday special takes place after this. So, and there's enough time. If there's 10 years,
Yeah.
there's enough time for him to hook up with that
is,
Wookiee and have their
is,
kid.
is
Lando.
the holiday special actually canon or what? What is that?
Boba Fett,
I know what it is. I'm just saying.
Chewie's wife, lady with 4 arms, is a dude with 4 arms in this. It's all canon, man.
Ugly face?
Ugly face. I don't know what. I didn't care for that character.
Okay.
He was too jokey. He would have fit in the. He feels like a piece of DNA from the earlier version of the film.
I didn't mind him. Actually,
I didn't hate him, but he did. He never really.
I liked him, but he didn't survive long enough to make an impact. It was just like, hey,
Yeah.
here he is, and he's dead.
Yeah, fodder.
You
Cannon
know
fodder.
what? Yeah, you're right. And then the girl, like,
Thandi
she
Newton's character.
she killed herself so that he could make some money.
Presumably,
I-
because she was in love with him. I could
Yeah.
buy that. She wanted him to succeed so that he could retire and live the rest of his
I
life.
liked her.
And,
Same
like,
thing.
I don't know, man. I had issues with the fact. She
I
was-
bought.
I-
What I didn't buy was the fact that Woody Harrelson didn't give a shit. He was literally grinning
Yeah.
less than like
Yeah,
5
he
minutes.
got over
less-
that real quick.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
that
totally
emotional
over
way
it.
was done.
He was like,
even
"Oh,
said
she's
as much
dead.
later.
I'm
He
back."
was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, he did not give a shit.
Which is why, for a moment, when the leader of the bandits takes off her helmet and looks like she could be the daughter of those two characters, for a second, like, oh wait, was there something? What's
that
going
was a
on?
weird
here?
shot.
I literally still think that she is.
I
Yeah,
think
that-
it's totally coincidental.
that was
but
such a
that
weird
would have been
shot.
an interesting way to go
yeah,
with it.
I
The
I don't know.
first time I saw that, I thought, "Is that her? Did she survive?" Like I was looking at it like because
Oh, yeah.
it's shot like you're supposed to
And
recognize
before
her.
the helmet comes all the way off, I thought she might be scarred or something
Yeah.
under there, but yeah.
Yeah, again the
But
way
then
it
it
was
would
shot.
explain like how was it her because they were both there at the same time.
Look, this is a movie that has another guy who got chopped in two and fell down a bottomless pit just show up again.
Yes,
So.
but at the same time, I mean, like you said, you look at that shot; it looks like you're supposed to recognize who it is. And then when I saw it the second time, I was like, "Okay, I know that's not the same person." So I'm thinking, like, what did I miss? Why is it shot like that? I still have no fucking idea. I think it was just shot that
Okay.
way, and they just don't have a reveal, or she is a fragment of the older version, where maybe she was some character that they got rid of.
I'm
It's
still
their
not
daughter. It's their. How is it not their daughter?
It
What
has to-
evidence do you
she
have
has
of
to have
that?
been related
Yeah.
to
She-
them at
she
some
talks-
point, and they just
She talks. She mentions her mother.
But she doesn't connect that her mother was this other woman.
It's implied. I think it's
She,
implied.
she was.
I think
don't
it was
know.
supposed to
I think
be.
I think
but
we're
with
just
all
getting
these,
confused by physical similarities.
yeah, I don't know, but who
But
else?
even then, like Miller and Lord, wasn't there another director between them and Ron Howard taking over?
I
Wasn't
don't
there one of
think
them-
so.
No, it was Ron Howard right
Yeah.
after.
Okay.
I mean, goddamn, you've seen the movie twice. How do you still not know who the fuck this character is?
I do. We're talking, but who like?
I think the answer is like,
she's never even
she
given
isn't anyone in
she's
particular. She's
point-
just her.
Yeah,
She's no one in particular.
She's no one. She's just she's the leader of that gang.
She's just the leader of that group, and I think they shot it with the intention of like we're gonna make her look human when you think she's an alien, but with the way it actually comes off is like, okay, yeah, who is she?
She's Ray's grandma.
There you go. Spoilers.
There you go.
It's shot.
Yes,
it's
That's
shot,
Ray's actual mother.
It's shot like a reveal.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to reveal because
Yeah.
we
and
don't
then
know
she's
who
like,
she is.
and then she's like, let's get a drink.
Yeah,
So like that whole scene was just shot fucking weird.
If I see it again,
yeah.
what I want to
There
do
was-
is when she took off the helmet, I know she was short. I want to know if she was actually short during the train robbery scene as well, because I wasn't certain that it was actually the same person or if she had put on the armor of the previous leader who was. I don't know. There's a lot of thoughts went through my head.
Incredibly
in that moment.
confusing.
It was
Yeah.
also
Yeah, and-
weird that there was when Han was on that planet, yet he wasn't a stormtrooper. Like I thought the only soldiers they had were stormtroopers and a handful of those officers. Yet now they've got this whole group who aren't wearing any stormtrooper armor whatsoever, just wandering on this planet fighting for the Empire.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
How
Yeah,
many
I
different
spent
groups of
most-
soldiers do they have now?
Here's some thoughts that went through my mind during that scene. What world is this? Why are they fighting? What is the point? And eventually I realized, okay, it doesn't really matter why we're fighting. This is just the World War I trenches scene where
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Empire's chewing up their men for no reason. It's like I don't know.
That presented a couple questions to me. But the one thing I will defend it on, in Star Wars timeline anyway, that is what the Empire is doing. They're going to all these planets that are resisting them and just squashing it and installing the regional governors, which I actually appreciated that reference, that they did that. But the thing that threw me off was the fact that they're not using the entire clone army they have at their disposal.
Or
They're
the
just
part
getting
where
recruits, like
Dryden
Solo.
Voss could apparently kill a regional governor and nobody care.
Well, at the time, regional governors had almost no power. That was like what Tarkin says in A New Hope, is now they have direct control. Like that was a
Right,
thing.
but he's a high-ranking official, and this random criminal guy is just like, yeah, I'm going to kill him.
Also, the
everyone's
Crimson
like-
Dawn works with the Empire, so why
maybe-
would he be killing?
Seems like
Yeah,
that
I
would be
don't
a
know.
poor business decision. I don't know.
Well, the Empire is pretty amenable to having their high-ranking officers get off.
Yes, true. But that,
yeah,
while
but
that's
it's
true,
usually Vader that does it.
one thing I'm going to give them some credit for is that the state of the galaxy when this movie takes place is the Empire is new, but we're in this transition phase.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fuckery going on that we can't quite control.
This
and
is
most
this is
of
the
our
chaos
resources,
that the Death
yeah,
Star is intended to
Yeah.
replace. You see,
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
let's
The
go back
most
into the themes of imperialism.
most of what's happening right now is the Empire, now that it's established itself, trying to get the pieces to work.
Yeah.
And so this is the cracks in the middle. I would have actually think a story in there could be really good. Like this could have been a really good,
Honestly, if
almost
they're
like
going
the
to
Western you keep talking
build it-
about.
But honestly, if they were going to build it like this prequel to a Solo trilogy, duology, whatever they were planning, it would have been great actually if they spent this time to focus then on Han while he's in the Empire, while he's a part of the Empire, and see that story. And then we could have seen him coming out being this disillusioned, like, why am I even doing this? I'm
Yeah.
just going to do whatever kind of person he is. We see a new hope.
You know, one other thing about that is I think I would have accepted him, the actor who's playing him, despite his performance, I would have accepted him better if this movie took place like a year after Revenge of the Sith. You're like, okay, there's 20 years of aging that has to happen here. But when this movie ends, you're like, I guess A New Hope is right around the corner. What the fuck happened to him in between where he looks like that to that? You can't get over the fact that he doesn't look like Harrison Ford.
He doesn't look like Harrison Ford. He doesn't act like Harrison Ford's character.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a set-aside appearance. I mean, we get it. Harrison Ford is not a young kid who could play the role anymore.
And
I get
the
that.
actor who could probably play.
Now, I don't mean by appearance. I mean by mannerisms.
I know,
by, like,
and that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. You have to ignore that from a production standpoint. Well, you're saying about
Unfortunately, the actor who could pull off the appearance is currently playing Rilo Ken. So
Rilo Ken, yeah. Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren.
I thought you were making a weird joke.
I thought that was
Yeah,
a weird
I-
joke too.
You guys,
Yeah.
from past prod, I don't get the new Star Wars names right anymore.
Okay.
Wow, that's
just don't.
showing your age.
But-
You're at that point.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's too bad.
But
Yeah, you piece of shit.
getting back to what
I know Ray because a friend of mine has a puppy named Ray now. So if you want me to remember your character name, you have to
Name him after John's friend's puppies.
Yes.
I will get a cat and name it Finn just for you.
But going back to
Finn's name.
going back to what Alden
One
was
syllable I can do.
going back to what Alden was saying, I agree completely. Like, it's just the problem with Han as a character is when you first see him in A New Hope, he's supposed to be an asshole, and he has to gradually build up to being not an asshole. So this movie, he
never was an asshole ever in this movie.
Yeah.
No.
This is you
There
can
was
tell
one
what this
scene
is
where he shot first, and that was
this movie
Yeah.
should have been the reverse of a normal structure in
The
that
arc
way.
of
He
this
should have been like,
an idealistic young guy becomes deeply cynical over the course
and
of
eventually
the
becomes a huge fucking asshole.
Yeah.
But that's a weird.
never gets there.
But you never do that with a protagonist because it's an odd
Right.
structure to take, which would have been interesting if you could make it work. But you went with cookie cutter. Let's throw in some references. Call it a day.
Yep. Plot hole alert, maybe.
Possibly.
I'm not quite sure. So after they go through all the trouble of saving all of those droids and the ugly Wookiee family, did the ugly Wookiee family end up on the Millennium Falcon?
No.
Nope.
No.
So they're on the
They
planet.
didn't take any of the prisoners with them.
So that rebellion accomplished literally nothing.
They got them as
The
far as the
Empire's
parking
coming.
lot. After that, you're on.
Yeah,
your own.
there's a fucking Star Destroyer headed right towards
and
that
as
planet.
we know, in the,
Yep.
the original trilogy, there is no droid rebellion going on.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
just-
that's why everyone knows the Kessel Run, the
Kessel Run.
the Kessel Run, because after them came like 100 different ships trying to get out of there and not making it. Well, the Wookiees and droids on board.
Oh yeah, exactly. Tons and tons of ships all trying to make that run.
And that's
less than
actually
20 parsecs.
That's how most of them were extinct.
all of them tracking the Millennium Falcon, going, "Oh, they went this way." And
They did
no
it in
one
12
coming out the other
parsecs.
side.
they get to
God
the fucking gravity
damn
well.
it,
They're like,
yeah.
how did they get
The
past
Cthulhu
this?
is getting out. Oh god.
Take a ride at Cthulhu.
To make a serious point that actually defends all this, in Star Wars, when you get to like A New Hope, Wookiees are basically extinct. Like Chewie's like one of the only ones left.
No, they're not
That
actually.
that is the one counter canon thing for the holiday special in this movie. They mentioned that the Wookiees have all been taken out of what's their planet's name?
Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk. There's no more Wookiee. They took them all out.
They weren't supposed to be extinct. They were all supposed to be slaves.
Right, so they're all
Yes.
imprisoned across the galaxy now, whereas
And-
the holiday
Yeah,
special
but-
takes place on Kashyyyk.
True, but
And
the
so
holiday
that
special
no
is not
longer
exactly
fits with
canon.
canon, I'm afraid.
Okay, let me rephrase it. They're basically extinct as a free race. There's some
Yes.
of them obviously in bondage,
Yeah.
but the ones who escaped obviously really didn't. They died somewhere on the Kessel Run.
There was no tears shed. I'm sure
Nobody
Han
gave a
and-
fuck.
I was honestly surprised that Chewbacca didn't take that one with him at the very least.
Yeah.
It would have to die, which would have been funny.
It's been canon for a long time that he has this family that we just never meet because
He does have a family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
He could have brought
so,
them
like,
with.
get her and just, like,
Chewbacca's like super passive in this
yeah.
movie. He's just
I like
Well,
Chewbacca. I mean, Chewbacca's hard to do wrong.
I could
and-
fly the ship, but I'm just gonna sit here until you guys like tell me to do
He's
it.
a fucking high-level DM NPC
Yeah.
in a low-level party. Like, he literally is better than everyone at everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And he just lets them all do it
Yeah.
and doesn't bother
Chewbacca's
interfering
like
unless he
Ray.
has to.
It's like I'm old enough to know that like
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit.
Yeah. Look, guys, I don't mean to tell you your job, but I'm 17th level.
Let them learn. Let them learn. You know they have to learn somehow.
Yeah.
I don't want to sap all their
Kids.
XP away.
Yeah. Guys, here's the deal. If I get involved in this encounter, they're going to spike the challenge rate way up, and you don't want
There's
that.
going to be a fucking Sith showing up or some shit.
But honestly, there were like a lot of moments in this movie where we could have seen Han turn to the cynical person he's supposed to be, and they really just dropped the ball on it altogether.
Yeah, and then when
The
the love of
performance
his
wasn't
the
there.
love of his life, who they
Yeah.
were waiting, he was waiting for all this time, just leaves. He kind of
Betrays
stand
him.
there.
Yeah.
He just stands there and he's kind of like, oh.
He's looking at
'cause he
he's
can't
looking at a
act.
tennis ball.
I
at the end
know.
of a
That's
stick.
exactly why. He should have been fucking screaming or doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But he's just like, just sort of like, oh, well.
Oh, you know what would make me happy right now? Finding Lando and winning that fucking ship in a
Like-
card game.
Spending
Speaking of
3 years
wait,
fighting
I've-
a war in the trenches, watching his first crew die, watching his mentor try to kill him, the love of his life ditching him, like the whole thing on Kessel, and still at the end of it, he's like, yeah, things turned out pretty well. All right, let's go.
I got my ship, happy
like the
ending.
Lucas prequels, if you just explain the plot point by point, it makes a lot of sense. You can see what the story is. It's just not there on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a Chewbacca thought. When we first meet Chewbacca, it really annoyed me that they were subtitling Han speaking...
But not Chewie.
But not Chewie. There's no reason... The only reason not to show us what Chewie is saying is because we don't know what Chewie's saying. That's what the funny... He's Kenny. You know?
Yeah.
You don't want people trying to develop the
Wookiee like they
Wookiee
did
language
Klingon.
into like Klingon, language.
Yeah.
Which is where they actually teach classes on it.
That's the danger. They're like, we
Yeah.
can't let anybody know.
You guys were talking. You were talking about the future AIs looking at these movies and being offended when the Wookiees find us. And the only Wookiees that we ever translate on screen is being badly spoken by a white dude. Come on.
Do you know how much money Disney could make if they opened Wookiee language classes at Disney World or Disneyland? Like,
Dude, so many
$1 million.
furries would be in attendance.
Yeah.
They'd probably get sued because people die like choking. That's probably what would happen.
The third case of someone's throat literally tearing itself apart at Walt Disney World this week.
I figured out what the Darth Vader prequel has to be.
Okay.
He's on the Death Star. They're making the Death Star. There's not a lot for him to do at this point, right? They're just like beginning construction. He's got like his section is done. That's fine, but besides his day-to-day
Taking a lot of
duties,
baths.
yeah, he's just bored and shitless, and so he doesn't have anything to
so
do.
wait, he's taking his
he's-
day-to-day duties, and then he's bored shitless.
Yes.
He's
Get
just
it?
sitting by
Get
the
it?
radio waiting for a Jedi to pop up, and it never happens.
So in his downtime, he's just like, he suddenly decides, I want to be a director. I want to make a film. And so he starts enlisting stormtroopers to help him make the film. And you know how bumbling they are. And like he has all these problems. He casts stormtroopers and they're terrible actors. He has all these so it could be a documentary. The struggles of Darth Vader to get a film made on the Death Star.
This would fit well with my old idea that I wanted to see Jar Jar Binks as a senator doing a fact-checking mission to the Death Star under construction, and his bumbling causing an engineer who figures out the flaws in the plans never being able to get his news across to anybody.
So Aaron just pitched Chad Vader season 5.
Exactly.
Yep.
Except it would have to actually be Darth Vader, and he becomes a filmmaker.
To be serious for a second, the Darth Vader, like, there is a prequel comic that exists that would make an awesome movie.
Is that the one where he has the flashback to C-3PO that I've heard is...
No, that's a really bad movie called Phantom Menace.
No, but apparently there's a comic where it explains, like, he recognizes C-3PO.
Yes, that's part of it.
Okay.
But there's that... Okay, so it's not so much a prequel. Parts of it are.
I've
but
heard good things about
There's
this
a
comic.
lot
I
of good
haven't read
parts
it.
about that, including, like, how he finds out that Luke is his son, and when he the only time he ever went back to Tatooine as Vader. He went once, and it scared the hell out of him. And it's the only time that everybody ever saw him scared, and he left. Just that storyline would make a great film.
Was it the sand that he didn't like?
It was
Yes.
everywhere.
Sand gets in his vents.
It's in my crack!
It's in my vents.
Oh, it's so rough and coarse.
It sucked when I
It
had
feels
lungs.
awful against my burnt, crusty skin.
Yes. My every nerve is exposed.
So we've been going for quite some time.
This is a long podcast.
Yeah, this is a long one. Hopefully it's still recording.
We were very pent up coming
Yeah, we had
into
a lot
this.
of thoughts.
Yeah.
Anyone have any other thoughts, just things you want to get out there about this movie at this point in time?
This always pisses me off because I can't think of anything, and tomorrow I'm
And then
like,
later,
shit,
it'll happen.
I should have talked
Yeah.
about this.
We left as the credits were starting, but this was the first Star Wars movie where I felt like if you sat through it, there should be a scene after the end credits.
Yeah, Marvel style.
Marvel's just done
Marvel
that to us
style.
now. We now just kind of expect that.
And it should have been with Samuel L. Jackson.
Mace Windu comes back.
Yep.
Oh,
Dude,
I
I want
did,
Mace
motherfucker.
Windu to fucking
Yeah.
come
You
back.
think that you're the only guy fighting the Empire in this galaxy?
Yeah. All right.
I mean, come on. They cut Darth Maul in half. They just cut off my hand, motherfucker. I'm coming back.
Yeah, and they launch him out a window, which they can clearly survive very easily.
I would buy him surviving
Yeah, he didn't even
much
get
more
cut
than
in
Darth
half.
Maul just
In
did.
Yeah,
all
he's got a
seriousness,
higher
Sam Jackson
percentage of his
openly
body.
talked about it.
Yeah.
He was like, "I'd love to come back and do it." He said exactly the same thing. He said, "Darth Maul came back. All these people came back. Why can't I come back?" And
We
Disney's
saw
position,
Anakin fall farther than
Yeah.
him in the same movie.
Yeah, and,
it'd be fine.
Disney's position was like, "We don't really want to bring the prequels up too much. It's just a couple of sprinkled references is fine.
I think that's actually why we saw a lot of infantry in that one World War I trenches scene, because
Yeah,
I think
they don't want
they're
clones.
just ashamed of clones.
They just don't want anything to do with
They
the
don't want
clones.
stormtroopers.
So, I mean, I know they made a
Clone
canon
troopers.
that shortly after the Clone Wars, they're like, hey, you know what? Clones are bad. Why don't we get infantry that you don't see like that? You don't see
Yeah.
that product. So that the whole recruitment thing is there, like the original version.
Roger, Roger.
Yeah, that was no good either.
So this might sound a little dumb, but question: Kessel, the planet Kessel, right?
Yeah.
Is that in any way related to Cloud City that
No.
Lando lives
no,
at?
Cloud City's on Bespin.
Bespin. Okay.
Yep.
So it's just a huge coincidence that they are both planets surrounded by giant cloudy atmospheres.
Well, dude, in
Bespin
our own
is a
solar
cloud giant.
system, there's a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
well,
Kessel
that
is
was
in the
not.
middle of this like nebula thing, and
Yeah, that's
Bespin
different.
Is just a
That is,
cloud
it is a
giant.
very different thing than a cloud giant planet and
Yeah.
a planet with a giant cloud around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
Those are very
Bespin
different
is a
things.
gas giant.
Okay.
Kessel's
Yeah.
just a planet
Gotcha.
that's doing its
Right
thing.
on.
All right.
All right. Well, anybody else? Any other thoughts?
I wish they brought up more what the stupid spice was. Like Kessel.
The
was
spice
doing
mines
spice
of
run.
Kessel. It's literally a thing C-3PO says in A New Hope.
Right, and I wish
well,
they
you
would.
see,
What the spice is? Apparently electricity
the,
power. I don't
the
know.
spice is what allows people to travel through space, through hyperspace, and the trouble of mining it is these worms that come. So you have to have worm sign to let your miners know. Now I'm thinking about it, it's a little
that's
odd that they
Dune.
made.
That's
They
a
should
Yeah,
honestly-
but they literally they're getting interstellar fuel out of the spice mines of Kessel.
It's hyperspice.
Hyperspice.
But
Take you into hyperspace.
like, oh,
You know what's weird is that the Empire didn't show up and blockade that like years earlier. Like it literally took one Star Destroyer to get the only entrance or exit blocked.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what? We could just take this. And the only reason, do we even remember why they showed up? Was there even a reason?
The alarms went up.
they said
don't own
specifically,
Kessel.
like, I think your rebellion alerted
But-
them.
Yeah, something like that. They heard something was going down. They came
that
and clamped down.
that to me was a plot device piece at best.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It had
Especially
no
because-
reason to
It was
exist.
because they needed to
They
have
needed
the
to do the
Millennium
12.
Falcon fighting TIE fighters.
Yeah,
for space.
Especially because they're apparently allied with the people who were supposed to be delivered that stuff.
Whatever.
I really liked the Crimson Tide, Crimson Morning
Crimson
ship.
Flow.
Yeah,
that was
pretty
interesting.
cool.
That was a nice reveal.
That
it
was a
ship.
cool, like,
At first, I thought it was like identical buildings on different planets. Like they had branches.
Yeah.
It was when it started
that was
flying.
that was an
neat.
awesome ship.
All right, so let's all do just ultimately, would you recommend going to see it or not? Maybe can anybody confidently rank the Star Wars movies in their own opinion, like where they would put this? Do we want to do that? Does anybody care?
I'd put this at a go see it if you got nothing else to do.
You don't need to see this if you think this is the type of thing that you might appeal to you. Go see it. If you really want if you want to soak in some Star Wars nostalgia, and in a fairly harmless experience, go see it.
Yeah, I agree. Like that movie, you're gonna see this, if you see this movie, it's not gonna be like Last Jedi, where it
Yeah.
literally tears your family in half because nobody can decide if they love it or hate it. And
It's competently and very safely made.
It's not a must watch. If
Not
you
a
do a
must.
podcast, you should probably go see it.
Yeah, if you have listened to this whole thing without having seen it, probably no point in seeing it now. But otherwise, yeah.
Unless you want to, go verify all of our
Yeah.
I would like to
excellent
point
points
out
that we've made.
that this podcast was almost as long as the actual movie.
I'm sure it was longer.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know how
But,
long we've been recording, but it's been some time.
We're not gonna remake this. Ron Howard is not gonna remake this podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna reshoot this with new directors.
unless
Yeah.
the audio went south halfway through.
We're going to re-record 95% of it, getting rid of all the
Perfect. At 2:21 in the morning is exactly when I want to re-record a podcast.
All right, and Emery. Final.
I think this might actually be my least favorite Star Wars movie, based solely on the fact that I can't think of a single reason why I would ever want to watch this movie again.
Based solo-y.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna say. I knew somebody was gonna fucking say it. We didn't need
Sitting
it.
on that for an hour and a half. I don't know. I can't pin it down exactly, but it's near the bottom for me.
There's just the sheer lack of creativity a lot of times is the reason that you forget some of these movies, and You can't underappreciate what Lucas did with the original movies and how incredibly fucking mind-blowingly creative they were, and the world they created, and all the memorable things that he did. And they should have tried to do more memorable things, more interesting, risky, crazy shit that really inspires you and makes you think like more than just, wow, that was fun, or wow, that was an interesting movie. No, like, you should grab people and you should make something really interesting that just kind of takes them somewhere unexpected and blows their minds a little bit more than these do. And there could be that, but they keep missing the mark, I think.
Fucking Marvel's over there doing that with shit like Infinity War.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I will say, amongst the other Star Wars movies, it's more entertaining to me than Attack of the Clones. But clearly Attack of the Clones actually had something to say. This movie really doesn't. And the only Star Wars movie I'd say is definitely less interesting to watch is Clone Wars. Remember the animated one?
I don't even count that.
It's
I've
canon.
never seen it.
I mean, it's canon, but
But-
it's not.
but-
I mean,
awful.
it's
I
just
understand. I understand why you're saying
collection of
that,
episodes,
but it is
yeah.
canon.
Yeah.
So it falls into that area of Clone Wars, the movie, where you watch it only as if you're doing a marathon and you're just kind
Yeah.
of getting all the content in order.
That's
the only reason to ever sit down and watch this movie again. I
This
would
movie
never be
felt
like, I
very-
just want to watch Solo.
This
No.
movie
I
felt
would put this
very
above
exp-
Last Jedi because I hated Last Jedi, and Last Jedi then ruined Force Awakens. So I would put it above those, but as far as anything else,
Last Jedi, I thought there were things I loved in Last Jedi. There were things I didn't like at all. We've gone over that. So it's a mix. It's a real mixed bag. Force Awakens I liked in the theater, and since then it's one of many movies that has just kind of just continually fallen apart for me. This is so generic that I think it's okay. I didn't dislike it. I was mildly amused all the way through. That's probably how I'm going to feel if I come back to it, if I see it on cable or Netflix or something. I come halfway through. This is not a type of movie that I'm going to sit down and watch wherever I come to it to the end.
Someone on the internet just needs to cut together all the Lando scenes, and I'll watch those again.
Someone needs
well,
to make a Lando movie.
No,
make a
we
Lando
don't. No, we
movie.
they
don't.
are in talks for a Lando movie now, so
Yeah.
it
We
might
don't
happen.
need a Lando movie.
God damn it.
You got to do something.
I want a Lando movie.
No, let's make bigger
No,
stories
yeah, here-
in
no,
Star
no,
Wars.
no.
Well, here's the thing with the Lando movie. It says in Solo that Lando was already retired. So there's a ton of interesting stuff you can do about Lando.
let me point this out. They are starting to create a cinematic universe taking place just before the OT, where all the actors from the prequels that they want and these new guys are the same age, that they can start throwing Han Solo and Boba Fett
I was
and
just-
Obi-Wan together.
As I said earlier in this, I don't want to see a bunch of spin-offs.
Obi-Wan knows Han Solo in A New Hope. If there is a Solo 2 on Tatooine, or if they do the Obi-Wan, there's your crossover right there.
Yeah.
You can have these guys on screen together.
Oh, there's plenty of possibilities, plenty of
Yeah.
opportunities.
Well, no,
And
come to think, he
they'll-
doesn't
and
know
they- and
Han
they'll
Solo.
fail at
does he?
all
He
of
knows
them.
Chewbacca, doesn't he?
No, he had met him in the scene.
Oh, he just met him in the scene. Oh, I thought he had. I thought he
That's
knew
the thing
one of
is you
those
have to
guys.
run into those problems where you
Yeah,
can't have
yeah.
these characters.
Well,
crossing
honestly,
over.
it seems like at this point that certain things they can just conveniently forget when they need to
Yeah.
and just make a movie.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, I just don't want to see a whole bunch of spin-off movies that all are like, let's line up to where A New Hope starts, because that's the one people remember.
I think
I-
we're going to be seeing a
Stop
lot
it.
of that because I think you're going to get a lot of these real nostalgia engines.
I don't know. I
trying to
hope
get
that
a couple more
after
drops out of that stone.
next
Now, here's the thing.
year's
People are going to vote with their wallet, and if Solo doesn't do very well and its projections keep dropping, I mean, I saw this thing opening night in Times Square, New York. It was empty. It was desolate. There was no one in there.
Oh, wow.
Well, I
And-
heard 14 million for showings yesterday total.
But okay,
I don't know how. I
now,
don't know how well
but
that
again, we
is.
don't have up to date information on
Yeah.
that. I can only give you my firsthand experience with it. But I do know that they estimated like a $15 million drop over original projections, and at least at the time we're recording this. So if this movie does not do that well, they might put a hold on a lot of these like weird like standalone ones and just kind of go with things. I hope more like Rogue One. that was like a bigger piece of the puzzle, as opposed to like a backstory for a character we just didn't need to see.
I wonder if the reason why is because kids don't give a shit about Han Solo.
It's possible
Because he wasn't that interesting in.
Because as I said, this is for that new generation, and the new generation doesn't know Han Solo. They don't know
Yeah.
who he is. He's not been a big character for however many years it's been since Return of the Jedi came out.
83.
So
Since
why
83.
should they care?
Yeah.
And honestly, at this point, I'm kind of sick and tired of this whole timeline in the Star Wars universe. There's so much other things they could be exploring, yet they keep coming back to these same, however, say 50, 60 years the
Yeah.
Star Wars trilogies have taken place in.
They want those
Like-
nostalgia dollars, though. That's the thing. They're never going to let go of that.
Yeah, but apparently
nostalgia.
it might not be as lucrative as they thought.
Yeah.
The
It's
nostalgia
entirely
dollars.
possible, but we don't know that yet. So
I'm getting the information right now.
Well, breaking
Solo, a
news.
Star Wars story struggling to hit 110 million in U.S., crashes overseas.
see, people are voting with their wallets.
Pacing well behind the standalone Rogue One.
You know what's probably going to hurt Solo or Star Wars the most in the long run is that China does not give a
They
damn
don't.
about
They don't
Star
care.
Wars.
In fact, I noticed that going into this one. You look at the last couple. They had some sort of effort to cater to the Chinese audience. Like, there's certain things you have to do to get an American film into China. Like Rogue One, it was really obvious. They
Yeah.
cast 2 Chinese actors in the movie. But like Last Jedi, they pulled after only 2 weeks. Like, it did not survive there. So they might have decided with Solo, like, we're barely even going to try. And not having the Chinese market going forward with Star Wars, that's going to be bad. But yeah, I think if that's correct
What do you
information, man, like,
I
Star
can't hear
Wars.
anybody anymore.
I think give it a break.
Oh, can you? Yeah, you can hear us, right, Eldon?
We can hear you.
Sorry, I was covering you up while I looked up that information.
Oh,
Oh,
so yeah. Apparently, Aaron was looking up stuff on his phone, which was your way into our world.
oh,
Yeah.
Shut you out.
I apologize. By the way,
Censoring you.
when is someone going to make a This Is America spoof called This Is Cloud City?
I'd watch
Think
it.
about it. Think about it.
Well, it doesn't have 3 syllables.
Yeah.
So I don't
Needs
know.
to be
if
This
it'll
Is
work.
All.
This is Bespin.
That also doesn't have 3 syllables in it.
True, but I'm tired.
This is Calrissian.
There we go.
There
That'll
you
work.
go. Alden's going to make it.
All right, Alden,
This
that's
is
your
Amidala.
job.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
He's accepted. All right, we'll expect that shortly.
All right, you guys ready to wrap this up?
Yeah.
You got anybody else?
I'm
Sure.
soloed out.
Yeah,
Deadpool 2 was good.
it was.
That's
Thank
all
you
we
very
need to
much.
say.
Thank you very much to everybody for listening to this, supporting us on Patreon. Thank you to all the backers who we gave shout outs to. And of course, thank you to John and Alden for being on this show tonight. Much
I guess we will
appreciated.
see you again next time there is a Star
So, like in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Which is
December.
the longest break Star Wars has had in a while, which
Yeah.
is fucked up.
A year and a half? Really?
Yeah,
Because it's only, remember, it's only been 6 months
December-
since the last one.
Yeah.
But
5
there's not
months
gonna be-
ago.
There's not going to be another one for another year and a half?
Well, the next one is going to be next year, and it's going
Yeah,
to be
December
it's gonna be Christmas
2019.
release.
I had no
holiday
idea. I
release.
thought it was going to be
Like it-
coming out this Christmas.
No, that's
Interesting.
when episode 9 comes out.
Okay.
Solo, it's some
Putting out
point.
2 movies from the same franchise in the same year, Disney would never do that. That's madness.
Technically, they didn't.
Yeah.
It's a Marvel Comics reference there.
Oh, they do 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Guys, if you want to go see an actually good Star Wars movie, go watch Infinity War.
That's pretty.
Or Guardians
that's-
of the
that's-
Galaxy.
That's fun space
Yep.
opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the new Star Wars.
It is.
Guardians of and the cosmic Marvel stuff is the new Star Wars.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We love you.
Eh.